admission, really. He said that after Brighton, I think in week 10, I came off the stage, and the incident in Manchester where he had the argument with Jan van Veen, I was sat at home and I was saying to Faith, I don't want to do it anymore. Just the crowd every week. I said to her, I'm down bad. Now, listen, he was probably out of order to do the crybaby emoji or whatever it was he was doing to Van Veen, and he got a little bit of stick for that. But did we go, as a general public, did we protect him enough? We have to remember that he's 19 years of age. And bearing in mind the way he was talking there about his mental health, and bearing in mind we had a conversation last hour about Ricky Hatton and how, we deal with these situations. Do we have to be a little bit careful with him?
We definitely have to be, because we forget he's only 19. I mean, for me, I've got a 17-year-old who's 18 in a few weeks. They're still learning about life. They've got so much to learn. They're kids. His mistakes that he's probably made, doing the crying faces, he's going to make more mistakes. He's a 19-year-old boy. Like grown men are in a crowd booing him, hurling abuse. Do you know what I mean? I played with loads of players that in training, they were fantastic players. On a game day, they couldn't handle the effect of the crowd. And I could.
So do you think there was players that played in your dressing room
100%.
that were equally as talented and gifted, maybe better than some of those that were in the team, but they couldn't deal with the expectation?
They couldn't deal with the expectation, but also the abuse you get from the stands. The fans having a go at you, opposition fans.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 10:02, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Southampton boss Tonder Eckert's apologised for Spygate, saying he is responsible for everything. The owners announced he won't sack Eckert and believes he didn't know he was breaking the rules. Speaking to fans on YouTube following weeks of baffling silence, Dragan Stolak promises the club will work with the FA to put everything right.
And to put this whole situation behind us so we can focus on building the club and the team and the unity and the community of Saints that everybody can only be proud of.
Southampton were thrown out the Championship playoffs. It was revealed junior staff members felt pressure to carry out the spying. An FA investigation could reveal more private messages. Here's former Saints striker Charlie Austin.
It's the football clubs coming out and backing the manager. They need to be prepared for I guess, the flack that's going to come from opposition fans. The media, we're going to constantly talk about these things because this is what's going to come out.
Some breaking news at 10 a.m. Liverpool have begun talks with Andoni Iraola. That's after the sacking of Arne Slot. Jim and Simon will get stuck into this in their show next. With the transfer window less than 2 weeks away, we're told Everton are interested in Middlesbrough's Hayden Hackney. Our chief football correspondent Alex Crook says Hackney's class is evident.
He only played sparingly in that Championship playoff final against Hull, but when he came on, he was the best player on the pitch, so he's going to be a good pick-up for someone. It's obviously sad for Middlesbrough, they're losing one of their own, but I think it was inevitable once they didn't go up that he would be in the Premier League without them.
Spurs are also keen on the 23-year-old midfielder, and Mikhail Antonio's told talkSPORT football players are treated like pieces of meat.
As soon as you become stale, you get thrown away. And obviously I became stale, so I was the next person to be thrown away. So it's not just a personal thing, it was not just me.
Antonio blames Graham Potter for his sad exit at West Ham following a car crash. Antonio now in Qatar, speaking to clubs in England as well. That breaking news again, Liverpool have begun talks with Andoni Iraola following the sacking of Arne Slot. More at talkSPORT.com.
talkSPORT News.
The Prime Minister says it's right police are investigated over the murder of a student in Southampton, and Russia's overnight attack in Ukraine is being described as one of the largest since the war began. Amelia's back at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Our expert technicians can't do your spring cleaning, but they can keep your car's inbuilt safety tech in top nick. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
Widespread showers, some heavy and thundery. Temperatures around average.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. So, 2 weeks on from being chucked out of the playoffs, why have we seen no fall guys at Southampton? Does Tonda Eckert deserve a second chance? Meanwhile, as Celtic work to appoint their next manager, do they stick with the old guard or go for something new? Also today, how protected should key sporting events be? Is it arrogant to expect to win the World Cup? Does tennis still need Serena? Have the Irish FA got to follow through on Israel? And how much of an upgrade is Iraola on Arne Slot? It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
You love your boxing, and today is Talk Boxing. Dave Boy Green.
Yes.
Former welterweight.
Got knocked out by Sugar Ray Leonard.
Sugar Ray Leonard, 73 years today. Dave Boy Green.
You've got that famous picture of Dave Boy Green getting knocked out and going up in the air and going backwards horizontal.
I remember. I do remember. I couldn't have told you it was Leonard was the opponent, but he was
pretty sure it was Leonard. Yeah,
brave guy, wasn't he?
Yeah,
good in company like that.
Well, listen, that was the level. I mean, look at all the fighters. They fight at these sort of levels, and you go back into that sort of time when British boxing wasn't at the and it's quite in its pomp. So yes, Dave Boy Green, a very recognisable name.
So now we know, Simon. Liverpool begin talks with Andoni Iraola. You've always said you rated this fella, and it looks like he's going to be on course to take over from Slot.
Yeah, look, it's one thing managing Bournemouth, it's another thing managing Liverpool, and. Is it an upgrade? If that was the question that was going to be phrased at some particular point, I'm not sure how it can be, because Arne Slot's a Premier League winner and also a Dutch league winner. So he came with an elite resume, otherwise Liverpool wouldn't have taken him. Andoni Iraola is a person that's made Bournemouth, a lesser-than club, very competitive, and that has to be given all the plaudits that it should be given. And he's made players better, and the players that have been sold from underneath him has never stopped him, never broken his stride, to quote Matthew Wilder. But the fact is that managing Liverpool is not managing Bournemouth. And we will only see when he breathes the rarefied air of expectation that Anfield, their fans, and seemingly the new version of Liverpool must have, which is instantaneous gratification if you deviate from the style of football that they think they're entitled to. The manager sacked, irrespective of whether they won the league the previous season.
I wonder where next for Arne Slot. Later on the show, we'll speak to respected Dutch journalist. He joined us in Germany a few times, Simon. Marcel van de Kraan is going to be joining us. Now then, 2 weeks on from being chucked out of the playoffs, why have we seen no fall guys at Southampton? Spygate. Remember Spygate? The written reasons of the league's arbitration panel for the expulsion of Southampton have been published. Junior members of staff told the Independent Disciplinary Commission how head coach Tonda Eckert had placed them, quote, under extreme pressure to carry out a task they were clearly uncomfortable with doing and felt was morally wrong. In the written reasons, Southampton's conduct of spying against Oxford, Ipswich, Borough was described as a contrived and determined plan from the top down, which head coach Eckert had approved. We're going to hear from Tonda Eckert in a second, but the owner, Dragan Solak, spoke to Southampton's official social media.
Rules have been broken, there must be a consequence, and I'll take responsibility for that. But I also believe the sanction imposed is grossly disproportionate. The level of breach combined with the outcome of previous cases makes this feel incredibly harsh. It's the fans as well as the players who suffer the most, many of whom had already made arrangements for Wembley once the semi-finals had been gone ahead. I also believe that the competition itself loses credibility. Suggesting that decisions made off the pitch can see result on the field simply wiped out, this cannot be good for the game. As I have said, I want to close this chapter and look ahead. And I want to look ahead together as one, including Tonda and his staff. Tonda's period as our head coach has been a success so far. Our form during 2026 has been remarkable, and we believe he is the man to take us forward. As a board, we are fully behind him, and together we only have one objective. We want promotion back to Premier League.
Tonda Eckert stays. Tonda Eckert, Simon, addressed the situation as well.
When I worked in Italy for over 4 years, every starting lineup that we've chosen for the games was always out in the media before games. And the reason is that our training sessions, especially the ones before games, have always been observed from media and have always been observed from opponent teams that we came up against. Guardiola has spoken about this at his time at Bayern Munich, that it has been common practice in Germany to observe training sessions, knowing that other teams would do the same. I don't want to say this to excuse anything that we have done. I just want to give you context in the way that I grew up in the football world. There's different rules in England. There's different rules from the EFL, and I should have known them. I am a young coach. I have made a mistake, and I take full responsibility. I want to thank Dragan and the board for the support, especially in times like this. With everything that I have said, without script and without predefined statement, speaking to you from the heart, I hope that you have an overview of what has happened over the last weeks, and I hope that over time you can understand and forgive. And I hope to see you all soon.
They could have been in the Premier League by now, Simon. Would you have sacked him?
Would I have sacked him? Well, they've been sanctioned. So the manager can clearly manage. So what are you going to do? Double whammy yourself now? What is the point of falling upon your sword now? You've been sanctioned. I might have said, if there was a trade-off to be had with the EFL, which was if I sack my manager, do I keep my place in the playoff final? That's like pleading with a cop-up on the side of the road when he tells you he's going to give a speeding ticket and then he wants you to kiss his backside for 5 minutes. Well, no, I'll kiss your backside if I'm not getting a speeding ticket, but if I'm getting a speeding ticket, just give me the bleeding ticket and let me go about my business. They've given the sanction. Now, clearly the manager can manage. Clearly the guy's a capable lad. So why would you want to have further indications of self-harm? The way to have avoided this is not to have cheated. To suggest that you didn't know is preposterous, because you might not have known because of the fact that you've been working in Italy, and what a wonderful role model that is, where they get their biggest clubs and chuck them out of the league for corruption. So I've worked in Italy with the biggest clubs have been relegated down the pyramid because they've been corrupt, and we know who they are with due respect. And you're telling me that the people that signed off the expenditure for the trips, the flights and things didn't know it. So he may not have known the specific EFL role. He may well have been conditioned to an environment. And it's no good using Guardiola as an example, because Guardiola's not being cited in British football for being a cheat. You are. So they've had their 2-3 weeks to get this together, and this is their best version of it. And to suggest that the people within the confines of the business that would have been, because what you've got is sporting directors over here now, and you've got commercial and chief executives over here. And what the sporting directors have been able to engineer a situation is where the chief executives are idiots, they don't know anything, they just run the commercial side of things, keep them away from the football. And so the expenditure side of things that would have been incorporated, I would imagine, to have signed off things that needed to have been done, whether it's flights to different parts of the country, will have been signed off by people that do know the rules. And I've decided that those rules don't necessarily apply to Southampton because the better outcomes were there. We live in a world where I am in the camp of saying this is the playoff sanction was disproportionate. I believe it's disproportionate, and so did Stefan Borton when we discussed it the other day. I thought it was harsh. But we also live in a world where they'll tell you emphatically that marginal gains make a difference. So when you're suggesting that they don't, for the purpose of this conversation, because it suits the narrative, Dragan doesn't have any integrity, because he's prepared to, on one hand, argue the principle of the fact that there is an offence here that's cheating, but doesn't really value it that much. And I don't blame him, because his belief is that the manager will get you to the promised land, and we've been sanctioned. And to some extent, I understand why we do that. Why would you fire the manager? For who are you doing that for? Do your fans want him fired? Probably not. They probably think, well, look, you imbecile, you've got us in this situation, but you're a bloody good manager.
Yeah, but don't you need to set an example at the football club, Simon? There is no fall guy in this.
There is the fall guy. The bleeding club's a fall guy. They've been booted out of the playoff semi-final. The chairman's a fall guy. The chairman's bankrolled this football club for hundreds of millions of pounds, probably borne the losses this season of Premiership wages from last season, done what he could to keep the club afloat, changed managers, fired the previous manager, borne the cost. He's the fall guy.
Yeah, but the man at the centre of it undoubtedly is Tonda Ecker.
And he's not been fired.
There's no consequence for him.
Well, did Leeds? Yeah, there is, because he could have been a Premier League manager. And he could have been a Premier League manager with a great big fat salary and a great big fat reputation.
Does he deserve a second chance?
By the standards that we've existed under, yeah, because Bielsa got one. So we use Leeds as an example in suggesting that the £200,000 fine was what Leeds got, and he didn't get smacked on the wrist. He didn't get vilified by his own club. And this hypocrisy inside football, where there's everybody in football cheats. The players cheat relentlessly and endlessly. I just listened to some whining nonsense from Mikel Antonio this morning about being treated like a piece of meat because he injured himself outside of football and expects everyone to carry him for the rest of his life. Football is beset with people taking liberties. So I'm afraid I don't believe that Southampton should have fired him unless they want to clean house for our benefit, for the integrity of the sport.
But everybody goes unpunished. I know they haven't got to the Premier League.
The fans have been ridiculously punished. The owner's been ridiculously punished. The manager's been reputationally damaged and financially impacted upon. So what do you want? You want absolute bloodletting. You want him out in the middle of the street and people queuing up to throw tomatoes at him. They got their punishment. They got the absolute punishment they could have got. So what we want now is we want the council culture in its absolute finite form. We want him taken out and banned for life.
You know, when you employed thousands and you were the employer, if anyone had made an absolute howler of a mistake, which this is.
Yeah, mistake. People make mistakes.
And it's cost your business big time.
Well, depends.
You'd be sacking them.
Well, possibly. No, not necessarily, because if he's been able to, and because there's been receptive ears to it, let's just assume that the ears are receptive. They want him to produce an outcome that means they haven't got to fire him because they like him. They can clearly see he can manage, right? So if they don't really want to lose him, and they look at it and go, well, we've been slaughtered. We couldn't have had anything more. So why would we commit another act of self-harm? We've already done one. We've been stupid. We've spied on other sides. Nobody really thinks in football. Nobody really thinks that the material advantage of watching Middlesbrough. I bet you even Steve Gibson didn't until the circumstances.
Against the rules?
Because the rules have been created on the back of a set of standards that they believe underpins the value of the game.
Correct.
So with that in mind, so why do players cheat all the time then? Why are we having to deal with simulation? Was rules brought in to protect us from that? So I think, with all due respect to the consequence, I'm not entirely sure. What does Southampton achieve by firing their manager?
Well, let's hear from the fans this morning. And when I come back, I'll put some more meat in the bones as to the written reasons of the league's arbitration panel for the expulsion of Southampton, because these written reasons have been published and some of them are absolutely mind-boggling. But the fact of the matter remains, if the EFL deems it so serious, would no consequence for the manager suggest Southampton don't? And on Tonda Eckert, does he deserve a second chance? Does he retain Southampton fans' your support? Give us a call, 03717 223344. I saw Gabby Agbonlahor and Jason Cundy in PSG shirts.
Yeah.
Does that really get to you so much?
Really?
Well, to be honest, I'll be honest with you. I love talkSPORT and I've been on a million times.
Yeah.
It's put me off listening to talkSPORT. I can only listen to this programme now because you're the only ones, whether I agree with Simon or not sometimes, he talks sense and it's pragmatic, real analysis. But all the other programmes now, especially the Sports Bar and especially your morning programme, it's built around trying to anger other people into phoning in, trying to wind us up. And it's become, we don't care who likes us or who doesn't. Because I'll tell you what, you don't hate the way we play, you hate the way we win.
Yeah, but it sounds like you've taken the bait, Rich.
Well, I have taken the bait insofar as talkSPORT, you are the perpetrators between, like I said, Beavis and Butthead that now have turned the Sports Bar into some sort of comedy relief. It's no longer about real pragmatic analysis about the game and about the team.
No, that's what you get. That's what you get here, as you said moments ago.
Yeah, but the Sports Bar used to be really good. Drive. Even though Adrian Durham has always hated Arsenal, right? But even goes that, we had the Daily Arsenal all those years ago with Adrian Dowers.
Listen, let's finish on a positive note. Can you win honours consistently with pragmatism at your heart? Do you need an evolutionary change at Arsenal to go on the way you play?
The process is what Arteta is all about. And so far, the process is working. And like, we were a penalty away from winning.
Good morning, everybody. We're talking about the fallout from Spygate and the upshot from it. 2 weeks on from being chucked out of the playoffs. No fall guys, it seems, at Southampton. We heard from the owner, Dragan Solak. They'll learn from it. We heard from Tonda Eckert, the manager. He stays in a job. They've all copped for it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't seem as if anyone is going to take the rap. Apologies right, left and centre. What might have been, yes. Apologies to the fans who are all set to go to a playoff final at Wembley where they would have faced Hull City. It didn't happen. Middlesbrough took their place, but Hull won in the day and they go to the Premier League. But how are Southampton fans really feeling this morning? On Tonda Eckert, does he deserve a second chance? Does he retain your support? Many Southampton fans calling the number 03717 223344. James, Southampton fan, first up. Good morning to you, mate. So he stays. Does he retain your support?
Morning, gents. Great show as always. Yeah.
Thanks, James.
He's massively dragged our badge through the mud, and we've been at the centre of attention for all the wrong reasons recently. No one really talks about our unbeaten run anymore, and no one talks about how we took it to Arsenal, Man City, and all we talk about now is this. Yeah, he's been found out, and he's stupidly done it. But I think it's taken some courage and guts to come out and talk about it, and we have to praise him slightly for that. It's wrong, and like Simon says, if we sack him, what does that get us? We've still got this massive fine. We've still got the points deduction. That doesn't go with him. So I think, sort of reading between the lines, maybe the players have said, if you get rid of him, we'll all be going as well. So I think that maybe that's why everything's gone a bit quiet. And I think now the Dragons come out and supported him, said, we're going to back him. And with the squad to go forward and get promotion, is that him way of saying, we want to keep this group of players together. They want to play for the manager. They've seen how we've done it. And next year, we're going to go for the automatics.
Okay, James, what's your take on what James has just told us, Simon?
I'd be surprised if the players would have that ability to dictate to an owner based upon the behaviour of their manager and the fact that they also have lost an opportunity by the behaviour of their manager. And this idea that he didn't know, I think is for the birds. But I am in the same place I was in the conversation that we just had. What is the purpose? Are Chelsea running around bloodletting for all the cheating that they did 5, 6, 7 years ago? No. Well, if Man City were convicted, would they? No. Do other clubs do things? No. So the greatest act of harm that was done to Southampton was visited upon them by the EFL by booting them out of the biggest game in world football.
Just interestingly, in the passing, when you appointed a manager, did you suggest to him, listen, check out the rules, you've got to be across them?
I would assume that if you provide a manager with a professional job, they're professional enough to do it in the first place. But we've sat here watching footballers don't even know the handball rule. When they had to change the rule in the middle of the season 3 or 4 years ago because footballers didn't even know it.
Yes, yeah. Here's Charlie, big Southampton fan. Charlie, good morning. Tonda Eckert, does he deserve a second chance in your view?
Yeah, 100%, Jim. Hi, Simon. Big fan. First time calling in. Yeah, Tonda Eckert, 100%. What he's done at our football club in all the years that I've supported Southampton, genuinely, the connection that he built with the fans. Obviously, what happened is wrong, but at the end of the day, is there a better option available in the Championship? I would think no. The momentum's still there, so I think we had to back him 100%.
Do you think his credibility is still intact, Charlie?
It's difficult, obviously, because like I work for a lot of Pompey fans. Obviously, it's been quite hard for me, but yeah, overall, I think his credibility's still there because I think for him it's obviously been common practice to what is known in other leagues, and yeah, obviously it's not easy, but I think at the end of the day the results still do speak for themselves.
Okay, Charlie, thank you for that. Roger, Southampton fan, are you going to tell me anything different, or do you say, nah, keep him in situ, he's the man?
Hi, Jim. I think we've got some good synergy from the callers here, so I'm saying yes, let's keep him. I've worked at director level for quite a long time, and firstly, can I just say I've been off most of this year. My wife's been quite ill, and your show is one of the things that really has sort of got me through. So thank you ever so much. You guys are great.
Roger, we wish you well, and your wife, obviously.
Yeah, thank you very much. You guys honestly have really helped. But yeah, I think I totally agree with Simon. I've seen it in business all the time where people do some slippery things and you know, even detrimental to the business. But what comes through that is you wouldn't get rid of your best employee, the one that brings in the most sales or bonds everybody together, because it's a double jeopardy. So totally agree. Give them a second chance, and I think society also has to accept that sometimes you do need to give people a second chance at things. So yeah, that's my view.
So he carries on, Roger, even although it's perceived that Eckert undoubtedly brought Southampton's name into disrepute.
I think where I am with you, Jim, I think he has lost some credibility, and there's no question. You know, he has, and I think that's for the club, him personally, his coaching team, and the players to build that credibility back up, and with the fans as well. And the only caveat I would add is he needs the fan support. If things start going badly wrong, the fans could possibly turn on him because of his previous actions.
Roger, here's Simon briefly on that.
The one thing that he will have lost, and Roger's right, is he will have lost forbearance. So he will need to win. The owner will be expecting him to hit the ground running and expecting the team to be successful. And all of this will be chip paper if in 12 months' time they're sitting in the Premier League. But I can tell you what he will have is he will have less forbearance in terms of if Southampton don't start well and 10, 15 games into the season, they haven't got 25, 30 points and not looking like they're going to be pushing up the table, then you're going to find yourself in a situation where he will not get the tolerance, I suspect.
Sure. Roger, thanks for the call. Love to your wife. George, Middlesbrough fan. Very briefly, George, you got a different take on this. Good morning.
Yeah, I can't believe what I'm listening to. I think if I literally blatantly broke rules at work, I'd be sacked. No question. Doesn't matter how good at work you are. You're basically saying that the guy can break rules. Bear in mind he did it 3 times. He didn't do it once. He did it 3 times. Everybody knew that it was against the rules. The rules brought in after Leeds. He would have been aware of that, or at least somebody in the club would have been aware of that. And there's also the fact that he pressured interns to do it, and they felt pressured.
But with respect,
that's not a mistake.
But with respect,
it's not a mistake, Simon.
But with respect, first and foremost, what business of yours how Southampton discipline their staff? Second of all, they've been consequence, and your opportunity was given back to you. So in real terms, if you break rules in environments, you get warnings. So if you break a rule, depends upon the nature of the rule in your workplace, you wouldn't get fired. Depending upon the circumstance of the rule that you broke, you'd be getting a warning. So it isn't just a case of you break rules, you get fired. I'm in a situation where maybe Steve Gibson would take the moral high ground. In fact, I believe Gibbo would, and probably would have fired his manager, because I think he operates on the principle of owning a football club for 30-odd years. Probably drives most people insane, but he wants to operate with a level of integrity.
Well, it's cost the club a potential 250 million quid uplift.
But that's for Southampton to worry about.
That's not just a mistake, is it?
But that's up to Southampton. If they are prepared to oversee that and to overlook it more to the point, then really and truly, the club has been sanctioned. The owner is the person that's got to bear this cost implication, the challenges that go with it, and the audacity of his players potentially suing him.
What message is that sending out, though?
What message do you think football sends out on a daily basis when we see players cheating left, right, and centre? We see agents doing what they're doing. This holier-than-thou attitude that pervades football.
100% agree with that.
It astounds me.
Right, then?
George, before you leave us, I bet you're looking forward to playing
sanctioned.
them again in the Championship, right?
Oh, yeah, and it will be a hell of a couple of games, I'll give them that. Because they're guaranteed to be chance of cheating and all sorts going on.
True.
Because the Borough fans won't take
They'll have to live with it, won't they? Because that's the consequences of their behaviour, isn't it?
George, thanks so much for the call. It's 10:30. More on what they did and how they did it coming up. When you guys won it in 98, the double, did you evolve after that?
We knew
or
that
did you stay the same?
We wanted to play offensive football, you know, because for me, I totally agree with you, Simon. I will probably add something, you know, that for me is very important. You cannot play next season the same way because I think the pressure will be high, you know, in the medias, but as well from the fans, even from the Arsenal fans. Everybody is very happy and very proud of winning the Premier League this season. But we are a little bit frustrated in terms of the way they play. So for me, the most important, except the fans and the press, is the players. Do you think the players are very happy to play the way they did? Even thinking that they were leading the score against Paris Saint-Germain, even thinking that Paris Saint-Germain is the best team in the world, that there is no shame to defend against this team because they are such good players, you know. But do you think that Arsenal, the players, will be happy to do exactly the same thing next season? You have to enjoy what you're doing on the pitch. This is the best way of winning things.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, something's going to break, you know, into the team.
Would you have enjoyed playing like Arsenal play?
This way?
Yeah.
If I won the Champions League, of course. But they didn't. They won the Premier League, so they have something in their mind thinking.
talkSPORT's EFL expert Adrian Clark is staggered Southampton's head coach Tonda Eckhart is still in a job.
He has brought the club's name into serious disrepute here. The image, the reputation of Southampton Football Club is damaged massively, and they are going to be public enemies number one unless they have a clear out.
Saints owner Dragan Solax told the BBC he won't sack Eckhart and believed him when he said he didn't know the rules. Southampton admitted spying on 3 championship rivals and were kicked out the playoffs. Messages from the investigation show junior members of staff felt pressure to carry out the spying. Man City midfielder Rodri says he'll only talk about his future after the World Cup. He's been linked to Real Madrid. Meanwhile, despite interest from Burnley and Celtic, Craig Bellamy has committed his future to Wales.
Wales give me this opportunity. 1 or 2 might not have. I haven't managed before, and I'm really grateful for that. They've given me everything I could have asked for. I don't need anything else.
Bellamy's halfway through a 4-year deal as Wales boss, and after conversations with Frank Warren about potential next opponents, Anthony Joshua's told talkSPORT Tyson Fury should fight Fabio Wardley or Moses Itauma next.
They're all under the same promotion, right? Yeah, absolutely. So Fury is what he says he is. Maybe he should step forward and Frank should put his fighter forward instead of worrying about what I'm up to.
AJ faces Christian Prenga in Saudi Arabia next month before fighting Fury next year.
Jim White and Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. It's where the trade go. Alex Crook, my colleague here at talkSPORT, tells me Liverpool edging closer to making Andoni Iraola their new manager. The Reds are in advanced negotiations with the former Bournemouth boss and are confident of reaching a full agreement. So, Simon, this is further down the line than maybe we thought.
I would think it's quite some way down the line. I would think it's probably been under discussion for quite some time.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that the manager of Liverpool seemed to be quite confident in his position, the fact that this guy at Bournemouth was resigning without any other jobs to go to might lead you to the conclusion that people were thinking about this for some time and just deciding whether they were going to flick the switch or not.
Yeah.
And let the season finish and then flick the switch. That's business, that's life. People might think it's ruthless, might think it's a little bit heartless, but that's life.
I see quite a number of messages. Come on Spygate, what really did they do? What really did they do, Southampton? Well, they broke the rules. And I'll tell you more about what they did with one or two WhatsApp messages, which reveal how the plan was orchestrated. I'll get to that in a second. But at the moment, it's life as normal for Southampton. Not in the Premier League, but in the Championship. And Tonda Eckert remains the man in charge of team matters. Dragon Solak says no change there. But what did they do? And we'll take some more calls on this very shortly. 03717 223344. Those WhatsApp messages. A junior analyst sent to observe Oxford United train before their December fixture with Southampton sent a message to colleagues saying, I didn't really have an option and wasn't provided an opportunity to say no. I was an intern and was doing what I was told. When he sent details from that session back to his boss, he received a WhatsApp message reading, "You legend." Manager loved it. Upon being asked to carry out a second spying mission on Ipswich, he expressed concern but was told that the boss is adamant that someone needs to go. Ahead of Middlesbrough in the playoffs, Eckert was particularly interested in finding out if Middlesbrough's Hayden Hackney was training or not. There were differing reports as to his fitness. Southampton's operations manager booked flights and 2 nights accommodation. The junior analyst intern was shown drone footage of the Middlesbrough training facilities so that he could get an idea of where to stand. He flew up to Middlesbrough on Wednesday, the 6th of May, but was told that Eckert was unhappy he didn't fly up on the Tuesday so that he could see the Wednesday training session. The junior analyst intern went back to his hotel and awaited permission from Eckert to return home. When this didn't come, he left of his own accord and caught a train. It was while he was on the train that he learned from news on the internet that Southampton had been caught spying on Middlesbrough. It goes on, Simon. It goes on. Before we go any further, you'll probably remember former Southampton defender who just retired last week, Josie Font, hugely respected figure in the game, had this to say on Spygate.
If it was only the manager that was involved in this situation, or the manager and his staff, I feel it's very, very tough to punish a club and the supporters for something that one man has done. So in my eyes, if it was the manager's decision to do that, he needs to be punished, not the club, not the supporters, not the players. Obviously, it is wrong what he's done. But if the board had no idea what was happening, if the players wasn't aware of what was happening, why should they be punished? Why the supporters should be punished? I don't understand.
Collective responsibility, Jose, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, collective responsibility. But the fans, unfortunately, are drawn into it because they support the football club at the heart of this.
Of course.
But he's saying, Eckert, no deal, should go. Rob's a big Southampton fan. Do you agree, Rob, that it should be time up for Eckert? Or are you of the opinion, no, it's right that he stays?
Nah, Eckert needs to go straight up. He's ruined the sanctity of this club. He's dragged it through the mud. We're a club, built on faith. Like St. Mary herself watches over our club, and this guy has literally ruined it. I'm ashamed to wear my Southampton shirts now because I'm afraid of what people will say. Before that it was all You know, it's football banter, like you were talking about yesterday. It's just football banter. You know, I give it, I get it, you take it. Give, take. That's what it is. But if I go ahead and make fun of your club, right, you're going to turn around to me and call me a cheat. And unfortunately, that's true, and that cuts me deep. I'm not going. I can't go to any games next season. I can't bring myself to do it because it's just a massive slap in the face that they've decided to keep this guy who's openly admitted that he's what he's done. It's sickening to me, you know.
Rob, I'll put that to Simon. There's Rob, who very genuinely and honestly is telling us what his football club means to him.
He's entitled to his view. I mean, the manager has a different version of events, whether we believe them or not. He says he didn't know the rules.
Do you believe that?
Listen, given the fact that most of them don't know the rules about anything, I wouldn't be surprised. But the people that signed off the expenditure, that were involved, whether it was the operations manager that people refer to, they do know the rules. So have a look at them. The club's been consequenced. The club has had many challenges over the years. My God, you're the ones that had Rupert Lowe as a chairman, for Christ's sake. So if you can live through that regime, you can live through anything. Let's have a look at these clubs. Let's have a look back in the past. Everyone telling that Liverpool should be pulled apart when Bruce Grobbelaar was accused of cheating and taking bets. These things that have gone in the past. Get over it. Get on with it. These situations happen. Tonder Eckert is probably your best solution to get out of the Premier League. And if you can't bear to wear your Southampton shirt anymore, and if you feel that your club has been compromised by the actions of perhaps an uninformed manager in an industry which is beset with cheating from top to bottom, then that's for you, and that's a shame for you, because you'll miss out on perhaps your football club recovering its poise, finding its way back into the Premier League. And at the end of the day, in an industry which is beset with, doesn't matter how you get there, doesn't matter who tells the truth, doesn't matter how the businesses are run, it's about getting to the end game. And unfortunately, that's the real world. And for you, if you can't countenance that, then that's obviously your choice.
It's not enforced clearly in other countries. So spying on your opponent, should they scrap the rule?
It's like tapping up, isn't it? I mean, it's just a silly rule. I mean, the players talk to one another in the dressing rooms. They all know what's going on in one another's business. They all know what they're getting paid. They all know who they're going out with. They all know most things. So in the great scheme of things, and in the games that he's fired on, they've never won any of them. So the material advantage is virtually none.
So scrap it.
You scrap it, not scrap it. But the point is that if you believe that it's underpinning, what we're saying is we're taking this holier than thou. This not this caller, but the industry itself is taking this holier than thou rule that once upon a time, 6 years ago, Bielsa, who openly copped to it, didn't get any real sanction, and they got a £200,000 fine, has now turned into the loss of a potential £250 million opportunity. What's going on here? I'll tell you what's going on here. Hysteria created by outlets like ourselves, ramping the noise up, ramping the outrage about it, looking at it. You've just read a charge sheet. I couldn't care less what they said to one another. They've been found guilty. The correspondence between intern and internal management between Southampton is irrelevant to this conversation. They've been sanctioned. Now what we're trying to do is what we do in every walk of life, is we're not happy with people apologising.
That's not necessarily true.
It is.
Trevor Birch
It is.
At the EFL, who you respect and know, but you thoroughly respect and admire, made the decision, along with Rick Parry.
To what?
At the EFL.
No, they didn't.
Who you respect and admire.
No, they didn't. They upheld they didn't make any decisions. They put it in front of the independent commission who made the decision.
Right.
And so they represented the actions of the other 71 football clubs in the EFL to uphold a rule. And they put expulsion on the table and they argued a case.
But they could have got in front of Steve Gibson at Middlesbrough and said, now slow down, this is ridiculous. No one's getting kicked out of anything.
Well, that's not their gift. It's the independent commission's gift. The constitution of the rules that the clubs have put together is it's not Trevor Birch's decision. Trevor Birch has no say in this. The constitution has to be upheld, the rules have to be applied, and the independent commission assesses the case on its merits.
Was it right to kick them out?
No, it's disproportionate. But I've not changed from that. I've said it's ridiculous. It's like putting someone in an electric chair for shoplifting.
So for pushing it, does Steve Gibson, the man at the top of the house at Middlesbrough, lack integrity? Would you have done what Steve Gibson did?
He has I would have done what he did, because he has a right to have a view on it. there's a rule. The rule's been broken, but the materiality of that rule is the argument that has to be put into play.
Even though you knew it would be disproportionate if Southampton were chucked out, you would do what Gibson did.
That's not his job. His job is to suggest I'm claiming.
He pushed for a sporting sanction.
I'm claiming foul. Do you know why? You know, and I know why he claimed for a sporting sanction, because the Southampton made an absolute holics of the way they conducted themselves. Look at their own admissions. They've turned around themselves. And by the way, some of the things they're saying in some of their statements probably are ill-advised as well, because they're now suggesting that the panel was made up of people that had a Middlesbrough leaning. To add insult to injury, you've probably actually gone up to Middlesbrough in the playoff game, had a conversation with Steve Gibson, smoothed everything over, and then did the polar opposite in public. He was a lone wolf. Those sort of things probably incited Gibbo to riot, if I know the man.
Who comes out of this looking good?
Nobody. Hull.
Southampton will be playing in the Championship next season. For the record, Hull beat Middlesbrough on the day at Wembley. There you go. Spygate. Shizo. All right, it's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
Perry Groves joins us now. Perry.
Good evening, Perry.
Evening, commiserations.
Good evening. Don't want your commiserations.
I've seen you in the...
Stick your commiserations where the sun don't shine.
No, son.
I don't want your hollow whatever.
No.
Stick it.
No. It's commiserations.
No, it's not.
No, I think there is commiserations. I think it's fair.
No, because you're pleased.
No, I am delighted.
Do you know what? It's a weird thing, right? I don't get people taking great pleasure from other people's misfortunes.
What do you mean?
Right? When I was brought up, right, to want to be successful myself, right, and reach my goals, but if someone else is successful, be pleased from. The only caveat that is that mob up the road with Spurs, because if they'd have won it in 2019, I'd have emigrated, I'd have gone to Sydney with my boy. Right. But other than that, I don't. You'd rather a French team beat an English team.
100%.
Yeah. Don't get it.
100%.
Do you know what? It just shows you how shallow you both are.
No, not shallow, being honest.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
Because I want Chelsea in it against a foreign team because I want an English team to do well.
Why? Well, I don't get that argument. I don't get it. I never will get it. The hate has got to go deep in the heart.
No, that's why. That's the thing. I don't hate. That's the difference.
I do.
Apart from that, how energy sapping is that? How much are in people's heads?
No, it's so
everyone's
good.
different.
No, Perry, I get what you're saying, but there's people that are like me and Cundy that don't want another English team to do well.
Yeah, but again,
different opinions, isn't it?
Yeah, but
I didn't want Villa to win the Europa League because I put them in the Champions League. I didn't want that. I know they got them in the league anyway.
Shallow.
No, but it's nothing against Gab. I just don't want Arsenal. Also, the other.
Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday morning, Tuesday, June the 2nd. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. This could well be the day. Martin O'Neill and Robbie Keane holding talks with Dermot Desmond in a battle for the Celtic job. We know what happened, of course, at the end of the season. Martin O'Neill went in on an interim basis for a second time and stole the show. He was magnificent, Martin. And Celtic, under Martin O'Neill, ended up doing the double. They secured the Premier League title at home against Hearts, who had led the way for so long, and they beat Dunfermline at Hampden in the Scottish Cup final. And at the time, Martin told us about how he saw things going forward.
If you were asking me today, I genuinely wouldn't have the energy to do it at this moment. I am fairly decent in terms of age, you know. I'm going to see less days than I've seen. But who knows? I definitely found energy from somewhere. I felt a rejuvenation. I definitely felt some sort of renaissance, really, as much as anything else. And that hasn't left me as from today. I'm tired, but it hasn't left me as from today.
So it's reported that Robbie Keane, who's available, would be willing to commit for 3 years. Yeah. And of course, I remember that at the time he was a big favourite. He played for the club on loan in 2010. I remember when he arrived at Celtic Park, I was on Sky that day, and hundreds upon hundreds of fans had turned out to welcome Robbie Keane. Well, make it a few thousand. So prior to that, prior to him managing Ferencváros, he managed the Israeli club Maccabi Tel Aviv, where he also won the title. I wonder if some of the Celtic fans would take a poor view of that, in view of their support for the Palestinian cause. But here's the situation, Simon. Dermot Desmond, majority shareholder, speaking to both Martin and Robbie. Should he stick with the old guard or go for something new?
Well, I mean, listening to Martin there, he sounds such a fanny. I mean, what does he want? To be told how wonderful he is so he can be given a job? Martin should be getting the job. Martin should not be talking himself down in any shape or form, but I suspect that's the football manager saying, I want to be told how much I'm loved and I want to be given all the appreciation that I should be given. He is perfectly capable of managing Celtic for another couple of years. You know, he's got bags of energy. We see him in the studio. He's a live wire. He may well be tired, like we all get tired at moments in time. The only way Martin shouldn't get this job is if he doesn't want it. He's gone in there, he's fixed the problem, he's very reliable, he's very good at what he does, he galvanises a support base, and more importantly than all that, he wins.
Yeah, but what would that look like? If he was to appoint him again, would that be looked as safe and stable, or would it be deemed as unambitious? When you've got a younger guy who's desperate for the job.
Winning. Win. What difference does it make what age you are? Win. Celtic's job and DNA and what says on the can is to win. So if the best version of winning in the here and now is Martin O'Neill, then you employ Martin O'Neill, and in 2 years' time you deal with the next version of what.
I know that, but we know the backdrop to all of this.
What's that?
In the eyes of many Celtic supporters, the current Celtic board are deemed to be unambitious.
Well, but they won, so they can think what they want. I mean, what's so ambitious about Robbie Keane? Like Robbie. Like him. Liked him as a player. I think he's grown up as a person, spent some time in Qatar with him. I think his management career has gone relatively well. But you've got a winner in there. And unless you really believe that Robbie Keane is going to nail on victory for you, what is ambitious about giving Robbie Keane? Because he's younger. So on that basis, why don't we employ politicians that are much younger as prime ministers and presidents of America? It's not about age. It's about whether you can do the job and whether you're experienced enough. And we can't. The here and now is what you're managing.
I agree. Martin was looked upon as a short-term fix, who absolutely pulled up trees. He did brilliantly.
But that was up to Martin. Martin allowed himself to be looked at as a short-term fix, and it came out of nowhere because they couldn't find their backsides with both hands in a funnel. They didn't know what they were doing, and so they sat there with Brendan Rodgers, you know, saying dreadful things and having to have a fight with him. Then they've gone out and got this guy from the MLS, which we sat in this studio and ruminated about. Was come on, are you really? And proven to be right. And clearly Martin O'Neill went in there and should have been kept in there for the rest of the season.
Well, that's right. And this is the same Celtic board who brought in Wilfred Nancy.
So where's the ambition in that then? It's not. I mean, what is this?
I mean, Martin was not seen as a long-term fix. It was a short-term fix. But on 2 occasions.
Sure.
The second occasions, he wrote the headlines.
But that may well be because Martin only wanted to go in for the end of the season. And
so he's now the long-term answer, is he?
Well, it depends what you think long-term is in football management. We sit here constantly saying that football management doesn't last for anything longer than 18 months. So what's long-term about anything at this stage?
What contract would you give him if you were Desmond and you're going to give it to
a rolling year?
A rolling year?
A rolling year. Why not? And look around, give yourself time. You're a big football club. There'll be plenty of managers within a certain range that want to manage Celtic. You're not going to get Jose Mourinho managing Celtic, are you? You're not going to get Pep Guardiola managing Celtic. So there's a certain manager with a certain amount of economics attached to it that's going to manage Celtic. So you're not going to Harrods but you're also not going a little. You're somewhere in between.
Right.
And so with that in mind,
what is kicking the can down the road, though? Here, give Martin another year. He's done well. See if he can do it again.
But your manager, the question for Martin is, does he believe he can get the right support from the Celtic board? Does he believe that ultimately he worked the oracle last year and what turned water into wine and created an outcome with a group of players that, in lots of people's minds, were substandard in a substandard league? And so, if you can win the league in a substandard league, it must mean that there's a pretty average league, full stop. But I won't get into that conversation because we'll have Rod Stewart on the phone giving his 2 penneth. But the bottom line is my view is there's nothing wrong with keeping Martin O'Neill in place if Martin O'Neill wants to do the job. He's perfectly capable of doing it. He's 74 years young. He's got bags of experience. He's got bags of energy. He knows what he's doing. He knows his football club. He galvanises the fan base. The only reason it shouldn't be given to him is if he doesn't want it. And if he doesn't want it, it's because the conversation with Dermot Desmond says you're going to get more of the same, which means I'm going to give you substandard players, and we're going to continue to have this observation about lack of ambition. The reasons why the ambition scenario came into place was because Brendan Rodgers played a masterclass of suggesting the reasons why they lost the game to a crap team in the European Cup was because they wouldn't give enough support until after they've qualified. That's nonsense. It might well be true in the broadest terms, but this team was good enough to overcome Kairat or Karabag or whatever they were. Kairat. So with all that in mind, you look at it and say, I don't think there's anything wrong, besides me having to endure Keown for another year on a Monday basis, with Martin O'Neill staying at Celtic.
Let's put it out there. Celtic fans this morning, what do you think? I mean, what would appointing Martin O'Neill again represent to you? Would it be safe and stable? Would it be unambitious? What would it? We know you love Martin, but should he go in again for another season? Robbie Keane, reportedly on the sidelines and would welcome the job as well. Tell us what you think. Martin for another season? How would that look to you? 03717 223344. In the penalty shootout, Emmanuel, it struck me to ask you, were you surprised that Gabriel
a little bit
stepped up?
Yeah, I was surprised because I saw, for example, one player. I don't want to blame them. I don't want to point finger at them. But when I see Zubimendi, he's a European champion. He's got character and personality, and the guy just came into the game. He's fresh, mentally and physically. You know what it means to take a penalty at the end of the season like that. It's so hot, So many players were having cramp, during the game. So it was an exhausting season for both teams. And all of a sudden, this guy came into at the end of the game. He's fresh. He didn't take. You see the central defender. This is not typical for central defender to take a penalty shot.
Yeah. The other penalty you were not happy with was Eze's penalty. I know we don't want to hammer the guy, but
football is already difficult, so make it simple. I don't understand why all those guys, is it fashionable? I have no idea. But, I'm very annoyed every time I see someone trying to make a stick, before kicking the ball. He stopped the run and then all of a sudden do something. Why don't you do a push-up before you take your chance? I mean, just go until the limit.
talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van centre.
With your headlines at 11:01, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Southampton head coach has apologised for Spygate. Tonderecker says at previous roles in Germany and Italy, spying on your rivals was common practice.
I don't want to say this to excuse anything that we have done. I just want to give you context in the way that I grew up in the football world. There's different rules in England. There's different rules from the EFL.
Despite getting the club booted out.
And I should have known them.
Excuse me, sorry about that, Tonda. Despite getting the club booted out the playoffs, Southampton owner Dragan Solak will not sack Eckert. Former Crystal Palace chairman Simon Jordan suggests Solak has no integrity.
Because he's prepared to, on one hand, argue the principle of the fact that there is an offence here that's cheating, but doesn't really value it that much. And I don't blame him, because his belief is that the manager will get you to the promised land.
Meanwhile, Southampton fans calling into White and Jordan have no appetite for a sacking.
What happened is wrong, but at the end of the day, is there a better option available in the Championship? I would think no.
He's massively dragged our badge through the mud, and we've been at the centre of attention for all the wrong reasons recently.
Give him a second chance, and I think society also has to accept that sometimes you do need to give people a second chance at things.
Elsewhere, following Arne Slot's sacking, Liverpool have now formally opened talks with Andoni Iraola. He wants to take his former Bournemouth assistant Tommy Elphick with him to Anfield. We're told Everton are interested in signing Middlesbrough midfielder Hayden Hackney. Spurs also keen. And Harry Kane says winning the Ballon d'Or in his hometown of London would be very special, but the England captain insists he doesn't think much about individual gongs and prefers to let his numbers speak for themselves. More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The family of killer Vikram Digwas apologised to the family of murder victim Henry Novak, and Russia has carried out one of its largest attacks since their war with Ukraine began. Amelia's back at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 600 centres across the UK, most of which open 7 days a week, we're always there when you need us. QuickFit. Drive away happy every time.
Widespread showers, some heavy and thundery, temperatures around average.
Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, June the 2nd. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT, coming to you live on your TV as well. You're used to that. Every morning between 10 and 1, you can watch the show as well as listen to it. Even on Prime Video, wherever you want to watch the show, you can do just that. And it'll be the same in the US of A at the World Cup. We're going to get to that because for a nation with one star on the jersey, is it arrogant to expect to win the World Cup? That's what England are thinking of doing, and we'll get to that in a second. What's Martin O'Neill thinking of doing? If he's offered it, will he take it? The Celtic job full time. Robbie Keane said to be in the mix as well, and both gentlemen having talks with Dermot Desmond reportedly this week. Dermot Desmond, the majority shareholder, in a battle for the Celtic job. So what would it look like? If appointing Martin again, what would that represent? Would it be safe and stable, or would it be unambitious in view of the fact that it's a younger guy who's waiting to see if he gets a job to come in and see what he can do? 03717 223344. Stevie's a big Celtic fan. Good morning to you, Stevie. What's your take on this?
15 days to the World Cup, Jimmy. I mean, I'm on my way. Obviously, I think Martin and Robbie's like a wee partnership. They sort of the same way that Walter Smith and Ali done it. Walter steadied the ship, and then he said he was going to move upstairs and Ali would take care. We're on 5 in a row, Jim, and I know you don't want to hear this, mate, but the dream is 10. So it is, for every Celtic fan and every Rangers fan. So I think, don't make the same mistake twice, like they did with Ronchi. Give him the job, bring Robbie in with him, and then just do a slow transition, as Simon was saying, a year's rolling contract and stuff like that with him. Because you think about the amount of money that Martin O'Neill is generated for Celtic.
Yes.
Me personally, I'd give the guy £1 million a month So in a year's contract.
But what about Sean Maloney, who's in there though, Stevie? If it was Martin, it would be Maloney, would it not? Alongside him.
But they can all work together, Jim. I mean, no, obviously Sean's done brilliant. They're going to give him this sporting director's job and all that. But
yeah,
to me, I think Sean, Fozzie, even Mick, they're all doing well, but there's room for them all to work.
Right, so you would have Martin, Stevie, and alongside Martin, you would have Robbie Keane, if that would work.
Yeah.
Okay, Stevie, listen, thanks for that. It's not the worst idea I've ever heard, is it?
I'd be interested to see how Robbie Keane would view that. He's a first-team manager now. He's not an assistant manager. He's a first-team manager. He's into his third, or with Celtic would be his fourth managerial job, I think.
Yeah.
So why would he want to step back? There'd have to be some real surety in the continuity plan, because what happens if Celtic go badly wrong and they're not playing well? Then what happens in that space is most people get cleared out, don't they? The entire coaching staff get cleared out, an assumption of everyone doing well. I can't see it. I can't see that. I can't see why Robbie will want to do that. He's a man in his own right. He doesn't want to be Martin O'Neill's protege, does he?
Right. Well, the two gentlemen, O'Neill and Robbie Keane, said to be meeting with Dermot Desmond, and it could be as early as today. As soon as we know, you'll know. In the meantime, of course, the emphasis shifts to the US and the World Cup. Is it arrogant to expect to win the World Cup? That's what England expect to do. That's what they expect to do. And we're told that in this new documentary, which the FA are releasing, Building the Dream, England's Road to the World Cup. Have a listen.
The World Cup qualification campaign isn't as simple as you think.
This will be a team no one wants to play against. And they will feel it, they smell it.
Although you make it look easy doesn't mean it was.
At the World Cup, boss? Yes, you coming?
As a young boy, that's right at the top to play for your country. It's a dream.
Thanks for the ride so far, and we keep on going.
We know it's going to be a tournament to remember.
I know how much it takes to get there.
It's like we're a small family.
18 points we are there in summer.
Okay. Oh my God, that is so arrogant. That's so entitled. I mean, how could we possibly characterise that as a sense of arrogance?
Well, let me give you these quotes from Harry Kane and also from Tuchel. Harry says, in Gareth's early stage, we spent a lot of time talking about trying to make it more together and trying to put the club football to one side when we come here with the national team. I think year by year, that got stronger and stronger. Now, of course, the expectation is to go over the line and win. Thomas Tuchel told his players at their first meeting at St George's Park, the mission, why we are here, is very, very clear. We want to be world champions. We want to put the second star on our shirt. And for me, it's very important that we just speak about it. Just straight away, speak about it. The mission, the target of this mission is clear.
Right.
The second star on our shirt.
Quite right. What's wrong with
that?
that?
And that would go with the other star on your shirt.
60 years ago.
When you won it in 1966.
Yeah, correct. What's wrong with any of that then? What did you think Thomas Tuchel was being brought in for? What we have is people publicly stating that this is their ambition. This is what not what they expect to achieve. This is their ambition. This is what they've been brought in to achieve. And anything less than that will be a disappointment to them. That doesn't
Harry says the expectation is to go over the line and win it.
Well, of course it is.
Do you expect England to win the World Cup?
I hope for them to win.
That's
the World
different.
Cup.
Do you expect them to win it?
I'm not a player. I can't influence the outcome. The players can. The manager can. I can sit on the sideline and look at it through the prism of saying, well, I hope that everything goes our way. We will need some luck. There are teams out there with better players than us. But collectively, can we overcome the Frances of the world that have got better individual players by being a unit? Is Thomas Tuchel able to achieve what Gareth Southgate wasn't able to achieve in key moments, in key games, Croatia, Italy, whatever else?
I know.
So yes.
To use a phrase of
I'm
yours,
optimistic.
let's get round about all this old fanny.
I'm optimistic.
Is the expectation amongst England fans
that
you'll win it?
Well, how can that possibly be? We live in a country where all we do is pull things down. No, there'll be a lot of optimism. There'll be a lot of desire and a lot of belief that the natural progression, as it was for France and every other team. Why should we be the only team in international football that gets into semi-finals, gets into finals, and then doesn't go to the natural conclusion, which is the win? Of course, it's part and parcel. We've got the best Premier League. We've got some of the best players in the world, and now we brought in an elite manager. So Gareth Southgate did a lot of good work, and that good work was indicated by Harry Kane talking about the mentality of building all this silly nonsense about club players couldn't play with one another and there wasn't this dynamic inside international football. All of that excuse and rubbish has been removed away. You've now got an elite manager. His sole reason, the reason why they went for Thomas Tuchel, is not to maintain the status quo, was to win. So what is wrong with him saying that is our expectation?
And you expect Tuchel in England to win?
I expect we've got a better chance with Tuchel than we've had previously, yeah. I would suggest if a moment comes on top and we get the opportunities, if we get the same opportunities we had against Italy and against Croatia and against France, I would expect to win those games with Thomas Tuchel.
Right.
Now, does that mean we win in 2021 if Thomas Tuchel, it's easy to say, were the manager of England in the Euros 2021, I think we'd have won that game. So that means we would have had...
You would have beaten Italy.
Yes. Now, whether we would have beaten France, different matter, or whether we would have overcome Spain in the most recent Euros, I'm not arguing for those points, right? I'm arguing for the opportunity. We were never in that Spanish game, really, in the final. We were most certainly in the French game, and it was a try manager.
You were in it when Cole Palmer equalised.
The Spanish side were miles better than us. We were in that tournament. How we got to a final just tells you the quality of the tournament. But we did, and we got there, and fair play to them. I don't want to take anything away from Gareth and anything away from the players, but we all know it was like pulling teeth watching England during that Euros, and they got to the final. The only time we saw anything vaguely resembling excitement was the second half against the Dutch, and the performance against the Dutch was a version of England that was far more appealing than what we'd seen previously in that tournament.
Now, while it's lovely to be reliving these games with you, and thank you for the detail you're putting on it.
Good.
There was an expectation on your part and on the part of many England fans that with Gareth, you should be winning those trophies. Yes. You should be winning that final against Italy at Wembley.
Based upon the opportunities in front of us.
Yes, there was an expectation. Now with Thomas,
in those moments,
you're hugely hopeful.
In those moments, given what was in front of us, we had the Croatians by the balls, and we didn't change in the second half, and we allowed them to change. We had the Italians in a cleft position, and we knew what was coming in terms of the spat, and we never changed.
Right.
So I believe that with Thomas Tuchel, in those moments, an elite manager mindset will affect outcomes, not allow them to happen. So I think that gives us a much better chance. I did not expect to win tournaments under Gareth Southgate, and I said that we wouldn't win under Southgate in Qatar, and I said we wouldn't win the Euros.
The only problem you've got there is when Tuchel changes something, in the hope that that gets you over the line, the opposition manager will change something as well.
We'll see, won't we?
He'll react accordingly,
and that's why the challenge is there.
Yeah. But you're hopeful with Tuchel.
We're not in a situation where, so for example, what could have, if you'd had the argument about Arteta, which Emmanuel Petit was answering yesterday, which was when PSG changed, Arsenal could have changed, could have gone after them, but they didn't. So there was a change made that by a rival manager, and there was a reaction that didn't come from Arsenal. Now, in this situation, if France took off their best three players against England in the quarterfinals of the World Cup, would Tuchel sit in there going, well, we're drawing 1-1, or would he try and win? I would suspect if it was Gareth Southgate, we would be looking at a different outcome.
Emmanuel Petit sat beside you yesterday and said there is an expectation in France that the French will win.
Because they're brilliant.
In the USA, that the French will win the trophy.
Because they've won.
But that's not the same here as what you're telling me. You're hoping that Thomas Tuchel can get you to the promised land.
We haven't won anything for 60 years.
Even though Harry is saying the expectation now is to go over the line and win it.
We haven't. Well, this word that we're trying to wring out the meaning of it. There's an expectation, a belief that we are capable of winning this tournament.
You're capable of it.
Right. So that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
There's not an expectation we're going to win it. It's definite. The expectation is that we are heading towards winning a tournament.
But in France, there's an expectation that they're going to win.
Based upon recent times of being able to achieve things. Based upon being in a situation where they've won things in recent years.
Yeah.
Based upon the forward line that we would suggest that is an embarrassment of riches.
Right.
We are scrabbling around saying, who do we bring with Harry Kane? Ollie Watkins found his form at the back end of the season. We've pulled Ivan Toney from playing in the Saudi League. Now go look at that, the top six that the French have got, and compare and contrast.
Right. And your trump card in all of this is a German.
Yeah.
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 Okay, that's a difference. He's a difference. He's a key difference.
The trump card in this is a manager that's capable of making decisions. Doesn't matter where he comes from. We live in a global sport now, so it doesn't really matter. In the same way that if Brazil go and win, I don't suppose they'll be talking about their trump card being Italian. It's about necessity to win games. And in this situation, in an ideal world, in a utopian world, we'd have English managers that were top of the game. But they aren't. Go work out why that is. Go work out why the best managers in the Premier League are not English.
Right, so you're tempering it down to a degree that you're hopeful Thomas can do it. Harry says the expectation's to win it. You're hopeful that Thomas can do it because it would be arrogant to expect to win the World Cup.
Well, look, We've got no basis for that, and I don't think we've ever expected to win something. They demand people take the demands of the probably the most passionate fans, and I would argue that English fans are the best football fans in the world. Some of them let us down, but most of the time, if you look at the attendance, look at the scale, whatever, for the purpose of this conversation. So there is a desire, a desire to look at English football and say, of course we want to win. Of course we want to win. We're desperate to win. Of course we shouldn't be playing songs like It's Coming Home and all that rubbish. We shouldn't do that. It's nonsense. But if you don't go into something with expectations, every season I started as an owner of Crystal Palace, I expected us to be challenging for something. And most of the time it was promotion. Is that arrogant? No. If you've got some of the best players in the world and you've got it's not arrogant.
Well, why don't you say it this morning?
Only weak-minded people would think it was arrogant.
Why don't you just say it then? England expects to win the World Cup.
No,
we should win the World Cup.
I anticipate that England will put themselves in a really good position where if a chance comes our way, this manager might take the opportunities that previous managers didn't get. But previous managers put us in better positions and have now built a platform. The platform that Tuchel was springing off is a much better platform than the one that Southgate had.
Okay. I wonder what England fans think. Do you expect to win it? Would you go that far? That this time... we expect to win it.
I expect to be laughing on June 24th.
Is that a bit of a stretch? 03717 223344.
Joining us now, presenter, huge Arsenal fan, Joel Bear. Morning, Joel. Sorry to put you through that again.
Morning, Dean. Morning, Jeff. You know what? I'm here to launch an attack on them too.
Good, how are you?
Gabby and Cundy, because I don't understand how you can be on radio representing the people who love football, and that's what you come out with. They came to work wearing PSG shirts. I was in Budapest enjoying the game. I look at my timeline and it's them dancing around, celebrating. Cundy, your team, you love Chelsea, but you played for Ipswich, mate. That's where you had the majority of your appearances, Ipswich Football Club. Gabby, you played for Aston Villa. You love Thierry Henry. You told me yourself last week. Where has it gone wrong? Why is it that there's so much hate for Arsenal? Where's this come from? I mean, what do you think when you sit there and you look at it, Jeff?
No, I was embarrassed by that. Because domestically, well, not domestically, of English clubs, Arsenal have unquestionably had the best, the most successful season. You know, they've won the Premier League. They've been within a spot kick of winning the Champions League as well. Personally, I don't particularly enjoy the way they play, but you cannot deny they have been the best side this season.
100%. It's been effective. If you want to go down to the stats, you know, I had the chance to be on the Budapest show.
Anthony Joshua has been speaking about coming back and heading back into the ring. Spencer Oliver had a chat with AJ for this very station, for this very show, and I'm looking forward to hearing AJ in discussion with Spencer. In the world of tennis, the French Open, Simon, has handed out a 65,000 euros fine, the largest in its history, to Adolfo Daniel Vallejo after he made, quotes, unacceptable sexist comments about a female umpire. What did he do? He's a world number 71 from Paraguay. He was unhappy that the female umpire, Ana Carvalho, after he lost his second round match against a French teenager, Moise Kouame, in 5 sets last Thursday, saying that, quotes, this sort of match needs to be umpired by a man because, quotes, you need a lot of strength to go against the crowd. So he spoke out, and it's cost him, because Amelie Mauresmo, former player, is now the tournament director at Roland Garros, said a fine of 65,000 euros, about £48,000, has been imposed, roughly half of his prize money. It's clearly something that's unacceptable to us, to the tournament and to the federation, and even beyond the tournament. This kind of language has no place here. Vallejo, for his part, apologised for his actions. He says, I have respect for the umpires and for the job they do. He said it was very heated. I apologise. I also want to clarify I didn't blame the loss on her. She did a good job throughout the whole match. I'll learn from this. I'll get better from this. Top tennis journalist Marcus Buckland joins us live. Marcus, 65,000 euros fine for what he said. This sort of match needs to be umpired by a man. Does the punishment fit the crime here, do you think?
Well, listen, Jim, it is a harsh punishment. There's no doubt about that. John McEnroe on television has been pretty outspoken, says it's way over the top for some inane comments, particularly bearing in mind, as you've said, he's ranked 71 in the world. He's not one of the superstars. He's not earning a fortune. He's been very quick to apologise, but I guess it's a warning for anybody else who's going to come up with a stupid comment. And in this day and age, you can't be saying those sorts of things. So I don't think, to be honest, he's going to get too much sympathy. I've been looking at some of the other big fines that have been handed out in the tennis world. Daniel Medvedev last year was fined £31,000 for some unsportsmanlike conduct. Nick Kyrgios in Cincinnati a couple of years ago, $113,000. And interestingly, Serena Williams, who's also in the news at the moment, way back in 2009, when she launched her tirade against a line judge, was fined $82,500, which in today's money is around $127,000. But yeah, Vallejo is up there, as you say. It's a record here at Roland Garros. I hope he learns his lesson. I've got a little bit of sympathy for him, but equally, in this day and age, you just cannot say things like that.
What in the passing, Marcus, why do you have a little bit of sympathy for him?
Well, I think, first of all, it's his second language. I think maybe he was caught up in the heat of the moment. He'd just been involved in a terrific tussle with this 17-year-old Moise Kouame. The crowd obviously was really behind his opponent. He's still a relatively young man. I mean, I'm not trying to condone what he said. I'm just accepting that in the circumstances, sometimes as a player, you say something you immediately regret. And he has been very apologetic afterwards. So listen, pay the fine, learn from it, and get on with it.
You take Marcus's stance on this. Where do you stand on it, Simon?
I mean, I remember David Nalbandian getting abusing an umpire and kicking the boarding at Queen's, I think, and getting disqualified from the tournament. So there are circumstances when players get extreme sanctions. I don't know whether this umpire is a good umpire or not. I don't know whether he has a point in the fact that she was strong enough, but he was ill-advised to make it about her sex. If he wanted to make it about her ability to umpire, then perhaps he would have still been sanctioned, but they wouldn't have been able to have the compass of today to turn around and suggest that it was a sexist comment, because it didn't need to be bringing in the person's gender, person's sex, more to the point. Either she's a good umpire or she's not. Now, I don't know that, so I can't comment on it. If she was not a good umpire, then he has every right to say something and every right to talk about it. But to compare and contrast and base it upon what a man would do in this circumstance is a recipe for disaster for him. And I'm not going to go against what he said. What he said himself was, I made a mistake. I wrote back from it. It was unacceptable for me to say, and I'll learn from it. So at the end of the day, you've got a female tournament director that's going to take great exception to this as a matter of course.
Yeah.
And we've got a climate where even if it were true, and empirical data were able to stack it up, you'd still have a situation. Even if he were able to say, I've got empirical data that proves that a man sitting in a situation in this circumstance would have done better, he would still find himself falling foul of the argument. So it's ill-advised to say something when he's got no basis for it, besides the fact he's probably frustrated about the fact he's lost the match.
Marcus, we mentioned Serena Williams. She's now confirmed that she'll make her tennis comeback at Queen's Club next week, describing it as the perfect place to begin this next chapter of her career. Did you see this coming? Did you think she'd return?
Yeah, no, it's been a pretty poorly kept secret for some time. I mean, listen, Jim, she last played at the US Open in 2022, and she said then that she was, quote, evolving away from tennis. She never actually used the retirement word. And over the past few months, there have been a lot of reports that she's been getting fit again. She's been hitting with various players. And so the news came as absolutely no surprise. I mean, she's 44 years of age now. From a personal point of view, I'm not quite sure why she's doing it. There are lots of suggestions that actually her long-term plan is to be fit to play in the Olympics in Los Angeles in basically a couple of years' time, which is going to be 46, maybe partnering her sister Venus Williams. I don't know. Obviously, from a tennis point of view, it's good news because it's going to create lots of headlines. And she's playing with a very talented youngster in Victoria Mboka, who's already number 9 in the world. She's a superstar for the future. So one thing is for sure, Queen's is going to be bedlam when she goes back out onto court in competitive mode once again.
Does tennis still need Serena Williams, would you say, Marcus?
I don't know. The problem, listen, for me, Jim, Serena Williams is the greatest female player I have ever seen. And what I don't want to see is her go out on court now looking like a 44-year-old who hasn't played competitively for 4 years. And if she does go out and start beating people, then I'm not sure what that says about the women's tour either. So it's an interesting one. But, we're talking about it. So from the sports point of view, that has to be good.
Marcus, thanks very much indeed. Marcus Buckland with us this morning. Interestingly, Simon, she said in January she'd lost 34 pounds in weight after taking a weight loss drug. In August, she announced a partnership with the weight loss drug company Ro, in which her husband, the Reddit founder Alexis Ohanian, is an investor.
I would rather see Serena Williams on a tennis court than on the roast of Kevin Hart that I had the misfortune of watching the other day on Netflix.
Oh, did you?
She was on there, yes.
Right, yeah.
So I'd rather see her on a tennis court.
They're a tough watch, aren't they?
Those roasts.
Yes.
They're not funny though, are they?
They're not funny. They're not funny. And I'm glad you mentioned that. We're live on talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes at 11:30.
As I've been waiting to come on, I've just had a message from somebody called Gabriel Agbonlahor. I'm not quite sure who he is, but his message was replying to me writing a diary in the Spectator magazine this week, which is headline, "No one likes Arsenal, we don't care." And he's just said, "I pray for a PSG win." Think about that sentence. That is a talkSPORT presenter on his knees praying to God that Arsenal an English team, do not win the Champions League. That is how pathetic the Arsenal haters have got. It is pathetic.
I want to ask you about that, Pierre, and I'm deadly serious, right? I'm deadly serious, right? I remember West Ham getting that Conference League final. Just about the whole country was behind them. Certainly Palace last week. Everybody was behind them. Why? What is it with Arsenal?
I just cannot understand how any fan base that has me, Keir Starmer, Jeremy Corbyn, the president of Rwanda.
You've answered that.
And I haven't finished yet. And the late Osama bin Laden. Why that fan base would be so detested, I have no idea. No, you know what it is? It's we live in a country I like this about our country, but it's full poppy syndrome, right? When we were losing and choking, everybody loved Arsenal, right? For the last 22 years, there's nothing other football fans have enjoyed more or loved more or celebrated more than our repeated choking and failures. And now we've actually climbed the summit. Now we've become Premier League champions again. And frankly, now everyone's beginning...
talkSPORT's EFL expert Adrian Clark is staggered Southampton's head coach Tonda Eckhart is still in a job.
He has brought the club's name into serious disrepute here. The image, the reputation of Southampton Football Club is damaged massively, and they are going to be public enemies number one unless they have a clear out.
Saints owner Dragan Solax told the BBC he won't sack Eckhart and believed him when he said he didn't know the rules. Southampton admitted spying on 3 championship rivals and were kicked out the playoffs. Messages from the investigation show junior members of staff felt pressure to carry out the spying. Man City midfielder Rodri says he'll only talk about his future after the World Cup. He's been linked to Real Madrid. Meanwhile, despite interest from Burnley and Celtic, Craig Bellamy has committed his future to Wales.
Wales give me this opportunity. 1 or 2 might not have. I haven't managed before, and I'm really grateful for that. They've given me everything I could have asked for. I don't need anything else.
Bellamy's halfway through a 4-year deal as Wales boss, and after conversations with Frank Warren about potential next opponents, Anthony Joshua's told talkSPORT Tyson Fury should fight Fabio Wardley or Moses Itauma next.
They're all under the same promotion, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Fury is what he says he is. Maybe he should step forward and Frank should put his fighter forward instead of worrying about what I'm up to.
AJ faces Christian Prenga in Saudi Arabia next month before fighting Fury next year.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
And we're joined by fellow Scot Sean Martin from BetMGM. We're going to look at some of the sporting events and the odds round and about them. Sean, interestingly, we'll get to the Celtic situation because I know that's close to your heart. What about the World Cup then? Shall we have a mini preview involving a couple of nations this morning? What about Emmanuel Petit's France? Where are we at with that?
Yeah, morning lads. As Alex Lyson said yesterday, in between his absolute cheek about Scotland, we'll take a wee look at individual teams the rest of the week, just up ahead of the World Cup. Some odds in there, some of your thoughts as well. Alex touched on Spain yesterday. I've actually got 2 today, but I'll start with France, 9-2 joint favourites with the Spaniards. I remember we briefly discussed them back in April. They were 6-1 back then, so they've come in slightly in the betting. You look at their squad and the kind of depth of talent, particularly in defence and attack, is just kind of scary good, really. They've got a handful of PSG players in there, 6 or 7 Premier League ones as well. There likely would have been one more, but evidently I gave Hugo Ekitike the kiss of death back in April when I says to you guys, 40-1 for the Golden Boot might be a shout, because he obviously picked up a serious injury shortly after that. Now, looking at it in a bit more detail, their odds are on at 2-5 to top the section, but they do have a pretty tough group. I'd argue Senegal and Norway first and last. They play them in Group I. That's not easy if you make a slow start, as France have been liable to do at times. The squad, it is exceptionally deep, yes, but in midfield, you look at the likes of N'Golo Kante, who's not young anymore, Manu Kone, Aurelien Tchouameni, and it's obviously that like they're there to set a platform of almost for the attackers, the likes of Michael Olise, Ousmane Dembele, Kylian Mbappe. But to put it bluntly, did Eddie Deschamps struggle to figure that balance out at the Euros, if you remember? Second in their group, 2 goals scored, 1 on goal, 1 penalty. Another OG got them through to the last 16, then it was 0-0, beat Portugal on penalties, ultimately lost 2-1 to Spain in the last 4. 1 open play goal for the whole tournament. Qualifying, not exactly setting it alight, 16 goals in 6 games in European qualifiers when you think of some of the opposition.
Yep.
Not really the stuff of brilliance. Loads of teams outscored them across the groups, including Norway, Jim, who scored 21 more goals even though they only played 2 more games. So Mbappe's 5-1 favourite for the Golden Boot, obviously previous at World Cup, but if Deschamps can't figure that out early doors, then it could mean value in that market for other players, the likes of Harry Kane at 6-1, Lionel Messi's there at 12s. And yeah, I suppose if each of you had to pick right now, how deep are France going in the tournament? Because I've got the odds here in front of me for like each stage.
What do you think, Simon? I mean, how deep will France go? I would expect France to at least semi-final.
72 odds, eliminated in the semis. Simon, would you?
Yeah, I would be in and around that. I mean, obviously, when you play Norwegians and the most recent results have got like a 1-1 draw against New Zealand, would put the fear of God into the French. But I think the French have got so much quality. It's Didier Deschamps' last tournament. I think you'll see a formidable French side. I think they'll be at it from the
one that you'd maybe expect to win the World Cup.
I think they have a very good chance of winning the World Cup. I don't expect anybody to win it. I think the tournament will take its shape and we'll see how it plays out. But they've certainly got the tools to win it, and so have England.
Right. So what about another nation we'll throw in at this stage, Portugal? Some names we know well, of course. So the question being, as a collective, how will they perform?
Yes, an intriguing one. This Portugal are 10-1, 6th favourite, so very much part of that almost kind of third bracket of teams in the betting behind the main ones. But they have a relatively straightforward group on paper, you would say. Congo, Uzbekistan and Colombia, and they've got genuine top quality throughout their team. 3 standout PSG players who just won the Champions League in Nuno Mendes, João Neves and Vitinha. Then you look elsewhere, Ruben Diaz, Mateus Nunes, João Cancelo also there at the back, Bruno Fernandes and Bernardo Silva in there as well. In terms of their coach, Roberto Martinez, obviously plenty of big tournament experience, albeit a bit of a reputation as an underachiever, you'd have to say. And I think the elephant in the room, or certainly the point of disagreement in the office chat earlier, is probably up front. Cristiano Ronaldo, never quite done it at a World Cup, 41 years old, now plays up front through the middle, 20-1 to win the Golden Boot. But is how much they stick with him as their main central striker and say every game, is that potentially their undoing, lads, would you think? Because we were kind of split.
Yeah. It's a good question, isn't it? Is there pressure on Roberto Martinez to field Ronaldo every time?
I don't think so. I think Portugal has evolved a little bit. I mean, we've seen Ronaldo making less and less of an impact for the Portuguese. He's less and less of a starting lineup player, if my memory serves me rightly, over the last couple of years. The interesting thing for me is, do we have, sorry to go off on a tangent, Sean, but do we have any perception of all the major teams that would be perceived as being challengers to go deep in this tournament? Have any of them got a real jeopardy in their groups that we don't think they're going to qualify? Because I don't think the conversation about who's going to win this World Cup starts to really metamorphosize itself into anything meaningful until the group stages have played out. And we've seen if some of the favourites have finished second and they've drawn a better side by finishing second in their group. I mean, that's where I look at it and say the proper grown-up conversations start happening when the groups start to shape up.
No, I agree with you. I think the short answer is probably no. Real, in terms of real jeopardy, not just not to top the group, but actually go out because of the round of 32, you'd have to say no, wouldn't you? Because there's only, I think, 2 third-place teams don't get into the round of 32, if memory serves me right. So even if one of them does start slow, like France, as I say, they're probably not going to really go out at the group stage, are they?
You wouldn't think.
No,
you wouldn't think.
So then it becomes about the consequences of maybe not winning your group or finishing second,
right?
And then you will not know who you shape up against until that point becomes clear in the other groups where you're being drawn into.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see all the major teams qualify as we would expect them to, and then we'll start to see in the shake-up, when you get into the around 32 and 16 and 8 and 4 and whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Have you got a price on Portugal to win the thing, Sean?
Yeah, 10-1. So sixth favourites. So you've got very much the kind of the main players: Spain, France, England, that kind of thing, and then Portugal are kind of a wee bit further down the list. But as I say, with that group and that squad, I know an outside bet.
An outside bet, yeah. So the Celtic boss, and you probably heard us discuss the situation with Martin O'Neill and Robbie Keane, said to be meeting majority shareholder Dermot Desmond probably as early today as today. What are you thinking at BetMGM?
Well, my group chat exploded into life last night for sure with all the reports surrounding Robbie Keane and Martin O'Neill. It seems they are the only kind of two candidates. Still a bit unsure almost how it's played out with Martin thus far since the cup final, whether he's been consulted at all, whether it's all been pushed back, whether it's nothing at the moment. But in contrast to Thursday when we chatted a bit about this, the market has flipped. It was Martin O'Neill 1-2 favourite back then, Robbie Keane 2-1. It's now Robbie Keane 13-20 favourite and Martin O'Neill 2-1. The wider view here, over and above what I said to you on Thursday, me and Simon kind of agreed on, which was if you're going to offer Martin the job, make sure you don't sell him short in the summer with like signings, additions to staff, that kind of thing. The same actually goes for Robbie Keane, to be fair, if it was to be him, in terms of that strengthening aspect. Champions League qualifiers are on the horizon. We know how those tend to play out when the club isn't proactive. And I heard you earlier, Simon, and I don't disagree that Kairat Almaty were beatable regardless last summer. But the issue from a fan perspective was never really that single tie, as you know. It was the accumulation of that, plus the 4 times Celtic had to qualify and didn't in a row. I think it was AEK Athens, Cluj, Ferencvaros, Midtjylland, and then Kairat. The common thread to that isn't kind of manager or players, it's executive level. I'd argue, a lot of people would argue. But the other aspect is whether the board really need the headache of passing over Martin to appoint a manager that, as you referenced earlier, Jim, a not insignificant portion of fans wouldn't be behind. And fundamentally, I actually think, Simon, you hit the nail on the head earlier, given what Martin's just done with that group of players. Unless he actively says he doesn't want it, then almost let's not punish him for his age, because the only thing Robbie Keane's got over him is the fact he's younger, I would argue. His CV in a vacuum, pretty decent. But come on, Martin O'Neill's a second only to Jock Stein, perhaps Willie Maley, in terms of Celtic. So CV's not really an argument either. And if you remember, back when he came, the first time last season, I did have my doubts. I kind of was like, I don't know if he should be asked to save the season, might have a negative impact on his legacy. My God, he put that to bed early on, and then he came back and buried it for good, winning the league and the cup. So yeah, odds-wise, Robbie Keane, now favourite. Martin O'Neill, the only other name close in the betting. And if I can be really cheeky, you're close with Martin, Jim. Have you heard anything from him about any of this at all?
We may, someone not far from me, and it's not Simon, may have had a conversation with Martin last night. Martin was arriving back in London last night, and we think today, or certainly tomorrow, but maybe today is the day that he will be meeting Mr. Desmond. So we'll know a lot more. But I think Martin would be the choice of many Celtic fans. And exactly as Sean has just outlined, when it comes to CV, obviously, Martin, by a country mile, outshines Robbie Keane at this stage. And Robbie has the age on his side.
I've made my case about whether Martin O'Neill... I mean, it's up to Martin whether he wants to do the job or not, isn't it? I mean, look, the argument I made earlier on was not about whether Celtic were ambitious or not, it was whether Brendan Rodgers should get out from underneath for not qualifying in that individual game, rather than necessarily Celtic's board not having the ambition they should have. Robbie Keane, is, as a manager, has risk attached to it. Martin O'Neill, you know what you're going to get. What's the downside of O'Neill? What? Public perception about lack of ambition. Well, isn't that already there?
Yeah. Would you be celebrating, Sean, if Martin says yes to a longer term deal with your club?
Yeah, but I actually think Simon nailed it with that as well. A 1-year rolling deal, and I don't think the idea of Keane can commit for 3 years. Wilfred Nancy committed for a couple of years. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily guarantee success just because you commit for longer. I wouldn't punish Martin O'Neill for his age, put it that way.
Okay, same as you don't punish me for mine. Thanks so much, Sean. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org.
mean to offend, did not mean to upset. Too many people that I've upset to name. I mean, social media is an absolute wash with it. So, you know, it was only a little bit of fun. All right, that was all it was.
It's people's lives here.
I know, but they're football fans, right?
They're football fans, yeah. But the way you done it, I thought was totally
Look, Gabby, I got the tone. Me and Gabby, I spoke to Gabby earlier.
It was crazy. It was too much.
No. Listen, we got it wrong.
Targeted abuse. Targeted.
You make mistakes and you move on and you learn from it. All right.
But you wouldn't let off. You had your foot on their neck.
No, I understand that particular. I've been there. I know what it's like. And look. Okay, so I thought at the top of the show, the only right thing to do was to apologise and say sorry.
Yes.
To absolutely nobody. The double Champions League winners, Chelsea, can say what we want. Right, get your big boy pants on, you gooners. I've heard you whinging and cringing. Oh, he wore a top to work I didn't like. Oh, he celebrated a goal against our team. You lot moaning like 6 months old with nappy rash. Absolute wet wipes. The lot of yous, absolute wet wipes. Wow. Oh, he wore a PSG top. Oh, he jumped around. Wow. Do you know what? If it happened again tomorrow, I would do it again tomorrow.
Wow.
Tuesday morning, bit of rain this morning. Didn't expect that, Simon. Tuesday, June the 2nd, it's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Now, of course, we know what happened in Budapest on Saturday, 5 o'clock in the evening kickoff. That surprised me. Still, many things surprised me that night. And at one stage, I thought Arsenal were going to do it, but they didn't. And they lost the final, of course, to PSG on a penalty kick shootout, which was painful at the best of times. And poor Gabriel, the Brazilian, was the fall guy. For the first time in the competition's history, the Champions League final was not made available to watch for free, which TNT Sports had previously done since it first acquired the rights back in 2015-16. The fact the final was played behind a paywall sparked a debate in this country, right up to Prime Minister level, Sir Keir Starmer, who spoke at Soccer Aid and spoke to talkSPORT's Drive.
I just think it should be free. It's always been free, every year up to this year. And I say this not as an Arsenal fan. All fans want to watch the Champions League final. It's a big event. It should be free. And that's why I wrote to them to say, please make it free. I'll renew that, actually. I really do think they should do that. I think it's the right thing to do.
Well, TNT, Simon, have now announced that more than 7 million viewers in the UK watched the match. The broadcaster said the Champions League final performed strongly in the UK, 25.6% share of all viewers watching television at the time, but that was some way short of the 12.6 million who tuned in to watch Liverpool lose to Real Madrid in Paris back in 2022, which was, as you guessed, free to wear. TNT also believes the early kickoff at 5 o'clock meant a potential 32% cut in viewer numbers. The Europa League final between Villa and Freiburg drew 3.5 million viewers. 2.7 million tuned in for the Conference League final between Crystal Palace and Rayo Vallecano. Where do you stand on this? The Champions League free-to-wear debate. Did this become something and nothing, really?
Yes, I think so. I mean, as you will not be surprised, my tolerance of politicians coming anywhere near sport and understanding the machinations of it is very limited. I mean, we had Conservative politicians in here last summer when we were downstairs in the broom cupboard, right? Remember? And they were talking about free-to-air stuff, without understanding the commerciality. Football is now in a situation where it's underpinned by commercial broadcast deals. And TNT and all the broadcasters in the latest round of Champions League's fundings have been asked to pay a lot more money. So the Champions League now is paying huge amounts of money. It's paying almost as much. You get if you win the Champions League with 13 games, you get as much money, if not close to it, as you do for winning the Premier League and playing 38 games. So the scale of commerciality that's being attached to it underpins the fabric of the economics of football. So whilst we can have these politicians pop up, as we have done for years and years, whether it be David Malla or Tony Banks with the football task force under Tony Blair, or whether we have Jeremy Corbyn coming out and saying every time a football club is sold, 10% of it should be offered to the shareholder, to the fans to buy, and see how that works out when Man United goes for $4 billion. See which fans are going to pay $400 million for 10%, and on we go. But I'm not offended by it, and people say, well, that's because you can afford it. No, it's because the framework of football has reached a point now where the financial expectations of the way that clubs are financed, the way that players are paid, the cost implication of transfer fees, need the broadcasters to be commercially fit. And if they deem it necessary that generating revenue from a paywall supersedes the advertising revenue that they will get,
then so be it.
Then unfortunately, what is it you want for football? Are you going to put the genie back in the bottle? Do you actually think that the independent regulator is going to do that? And all the things that the politicians are foisting upon football, which is just amateur hour, full stop. So when Keir Starmer trots out his nonsense alongside getting his free Arsenal season tickets and costing the taxpayer fortunes when we have to have security so he can go and watch a game, I take it with no interest whatsoever.
So what about other so-called crown jewel events? Should they be protected? I mean, Wimbledon, we watched that for nothing. The Rugby World Cup final, we watch it for nothing. The Grand National, the Derby.
But it's not the same thing, is it?
The FA Cup final.
Again, but I would argue that Wimbledon has a different funding model than football does. So when we look at football and we look at the individual players that are ultimately sole traders themselves, that are not paid by a team, not supported by a football club, and football is financed in such a way, whereas the Grand National and the tennis tournaments we're talking about, they operate with a different set of commercial obligations.
But
and
should they be protected?
Depends upon the commercial
standalone free-to-air.
No, listen to this clown #1 woman tennis player that thinks they're entitled to more money because they only get 15% of the turnover, whilst ignoring the fact that they get 50% of the profit. So when we go down the route of what they're suggesting, they want more money, then what happens to that then? So when the players turn around and say we actually need a bigger distribution, even though they're getting 50% of the prize money, and the other 50% in the Grand Slams goes to the underpinning of the grassroots in sport, go down their route, what do you think the consequence will be? Tennis will need more money. So when tennis needs more money, what levers does it pull? It pulls 2 or 3 levers. It pulls ticket pricing, or it pulls broadcaster deals. So the more you keep poking at the economics and finances of sport, and the more that the protagonists keep taking out of it, why doesn't Keir Starmer stand up and campaign for a maximum wage on player salaries? Because that wouldn't fly, would it? Because the reasons why the broadcasts are making it a cost exercise for fans to watch is because that's the kind of return they must need for spending the kind of money that they are spending on the broadcast deals that provide the solution to the financing of the game. So what do you want then? Just out of curiosity, what is it you want? You want to live in a time. So then why don't we unwind the whole lot back then? Why don't we suggest that actually Sky, which has now put English football behind the paywall, ostensibly, should no longer do that?
Yeah.
Because that's what we had an idiot politician coming in last year and saying.
Yeah.
We should carve out a swathe. Yes, put it on free to air. Put it on BBC. Yes, of course, put it on BBC. But then the BBC can pay for it, can't they?
Yeah.
So it's not free to air.
I'm not sure he was an idiot politician.
Well,
He had a view.
I think he was an idiot politician by the very nature of what he was saying, because it's very easy to be able to parachute into a conversation without any substance behind it, like most politicians do, full stop. But here we are in a situation we're saying, take it to a free-to-air position. Fine, unwind the fabric of the game then. Unwind the finances. Well, we should do players get paid too much. But how are you going to put it back in the bottle then? How are you going to make it work? So free-to-air I grew up with free-to-air. I grew up watching Test match cricket.
Yeah.
I grew up watching Wimbledon. But the world has changed. And you can't change it back.
No.
And the finances of the sports have changed.
So do you think one day we will see the FA Cup final behind a paywall? We will see the Grand National, the greatest horse racing event in the world, behind a paywall?
I would ask you the question. Why do you need to see the funding model of the FA Cup is very different to the funding model of Sky Sports and TNT that are buying media rights from the Premier League and paying enormous amounts of money for it, that they have to get their money back from subscriptions, and so they have to take their money where they can. Now, I'm not suggesting we should feel sorry for the broadcasters. What I'm saying is this is the commercial model. Now, what is the funding model of the FA Cup? Does the FA Cup pay out $2 billion a year to the football clubs? No, it doesn't. So it doesn't need the same funding model. So there's less of a case to argue at the moment, and then the clubs will turn around and say, well, actually, we want more money at the FA Cup, otherwise we're going to demean that tournament by saying it's worth less. So the more you make the FA Cup about money, the more likely, rather than status, the more likely it is that it will find its way behind some form of, breaking the orthodoxy of what we've been used to.
I mean, it's currently law, Simon. You can't watch Wimbledon behind a paywall. You can't watch the FA Cup final. It's in UK law.
Is it?
Crown jewel events. Now, in time, if that law changes, then that will change.
Who would be the politician that? I mean, that's got to be. If that's inscribed in law and is legislated for, then who's going to be the politician that advances that particular vote winner?
It's not going to be a popular move, is it?
Who's going to advance that notion?
Yeah. Okay, we are coming up to 12 noon. I mentioned Anthony Joshua has been in conversation with Spencer Oliver. We're going to get to that in the final hour today. That and a whole lot more. And of course, way back at the beginning of the show, I told you, or Alex Crook at least told me, that talks are ongoing. In Alex's words, Liverpool edging closer to making Andoni Iraola the new manager. The Reds in advanced negotiation with Iraola and confident of reaching a full agreement. That one is moving along, we hear. So are we. Live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes, at 12 noon.
He was on stage last night. It was quite an emotional sort of admission, really. He said that after Brighton, I think in week 10, I came off the stage, and the incident in Manchester where he had the argument with Jan van Veen, I was sat at home and I was saying to Faith, I don't want to do it anymore. Just the crowd every week. I said to her, I'm down bad. Now, listen, he was probably out of order to do the crybaby emoji or whatever it was he was doing to Van Veen, and he got a little bit of stick for that. But did we go, as a general public, did we protect him enough? We have to remember that he's 19 years of age. And bearing in mind the way he was talking there,
talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van centre.
I'm Ben Fletcher. Good afternoon. Sorry over Spygate. That's the message from the Southampton head coach. Tonda Eckert told Saints fans he should have known the rules.
I am a young coach. I have made a mistake and I take full responsibility. I want to thank Dragan and the board for the support, especially in times like this.
Owner Dragan Solak won't sack Eckert despite him admitting to the spying that saw Saints kicked out the playoffs. So how do the supporters feel?
If we sack him, what does that get us? We've still got this massive fine, we've still got the points deduction. That doesn't go with him.
I think his credibility's still there because I think for him it's obviously been common practice for what is known in other leagues.
I've seen it in business all the time where people do some slippery things. You wouldn't get rid of your best employee because it's a double jeopardy.
Next, Liverpool have now formally opened talks with Andoni Iraola in the wake of Arne Slot's sacking. Iraola wants to take his former Bournemouth assistant Tommy Elphick with him to Anfield. Now, with the transfer window less than 2 weeks away, we're told Everton are interested in Middlesbrough's Hayden Hackney. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook says Hackney's class is evident.
He only played sparingly in that Championship player final against Hull, but when he came on, he was the best player on the pitch, so he's going to be a good pick-up for someone. It's obviously sad for Middlesbrough, they're losing one of their own, but I think it was inevitable once they didn't go up that he would be in the Premier League without them.
Spurs were also keen on the 23-year-old midfielder. Finally, Freddie Flintoff's got his first overseas coaching job. He's the new head coach of Sydney Thunder in Australia's Big Bash. Flintoff's been in charge of England Lions since 2024. A reminder, England's first test of the summer starts on Thursday against New Zealand. Overseas listeners can get ball-by-ball commentary on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel from 11 a.m. And for everything else, head to talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The police watchdogs confirmed investigators will meet the family of murder victim Henry Novak, and a new wonder drug's been found to shrink incurable cancer tumours. More from Emma at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. The season's changing, so get your car's shim pads and studs checked for spring with a free vehicle safety check. Book in centre or at quickfit.com today.
Widespread rain today, heavy in places with the chance of thunderstorms.
Good afternoon, everybody. 4 minutes past 12 noon. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan, and we are live on talkSPORT, live on your TV as well. You can watch the show as well as listen to it. And thanks to everybody for all the messages and the texts and the tweets. And thanks to the Southampton fans for taking part in the first half hour of the show in the numbers that you did, because obviously Spygate still resonates and still has a lot of implications for your football club going forward into next season. Yep. In the Championship. Any news coming out of Celtic will bring you first and fastest. Martin O'Neill said to be meeting with majority shareholder Dermot Desmond. So too Robbie Keane, not at the same time, but who's going to get the job there following Martin doing the double with Celtic at the closing stages of the season just gone. Looking ahead, it's a big return in the world of boxing for Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua will face the Albanian Christian Prenga in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on July the 25th. It'll be his first fight since two close friends of his, Sinagami and Latif Laz Ayodele, died in Nigeria in a car crash in December. And of course that, as you might imagine, had a profound effect on AJ himself. AJ on that occasion was a passenger in the very vehicle in which the two died. Now, regards this fight, if Joshua wins it, he's set to face Tyson Fury later on in the year. Spencer Oliver got in front of AJ and they had a good old chat. And Spencer asked him, in the circumstances regarding his return, did AJ feel fully ready to get back in the ring?
I spent months making sure we're 100% physically. Obviously, I've got 8 weeks to go, but I've been training already. And mentally, I'm a lot stronger than I ever thought I was. I understand myself a lot more, and I want to be here, you know. Some people might not decide to be in this position after the heights of the heavyweight division and also the lows of life. But I feel that this is the right place for me to be, so I realise I'm in the right place mentally, because no one can make this decision for me except for me.
Do you feel, Josh, that roller coaster that you've been on in life, that mental roller coaster, not just a physical one, is the character building that has got you to this place where you are right now? And has that motivated you even more than ever to continue boxing?
So when I look at why I got into boxing was to... It wasn't so much like, oh, I want to be heavyweight champion of the world. It was like, oh, what, this fitness thing, this is a good community. It was like these run clubs at the time. It was like a community of boxers that were all really working hard into their fitness, into getting a six-pack, and I was like, yeah, man, I want to look good. I want to change the way I'm living my life. And now I feel the same thing. It's like, you know what, this is a really good part of my life. Boxing, of course, it's the pressure, it's the wanting to win, but on the core of it, it's really good for one's mental health, I think. And I choose boxing as my form of therapy, my form of fitness. So yeah, boxing is a really good way for me to keep sane, to keep my feet on the ground. It's good for me in many more ways than being just a champion.
It's incredible, mate, in so many ways, you know, that you've come back the way that you have. You look so great, and we're fighting as soon as July the 25th. I mean, it's quite incredible. Christian Prenga is that guy.
He is.
I mean, talk to us a little bit about him.
Yeah.
Big knockout percentage, 20 out of 20.
Well, when we look at the expectations that are laid upon the greats of the heavyweight division of today, we're not saying that the guys he's knocked out are the best ever, but you still have to knock these guys out. If they were put in front of me, would I have done the same thing? I would have done the exact same thing. But now he's up against me and I'm up against him, so we can't live off what he's done. I can't live off what I've done. I'm going to go in there and do my best. He's going to go in there and do his best. And the best man, if we just look at it on the basis of it, on the basics, is he's going to do his best and I'm going to do my best. I believe my best is very good and I'm very capable, and God willing, there's no hiccups and everything goes just the way it should go.
And all roads lead to that Fury fight in November. How difficult is it for you just to stay focused on one fight when you know you got the big fight looming in the background?
So through like my experience of having these situations put in front of me so many times with Deontay Wilder and so on, I now understand that blocking out that energy, it also takes effort, and I don't want to put that type of pressure on my back. Bring it. Bring Prenga, bring Fury. You know, I've happily signed the contract. I saw it was a 2-fight deal when it was initially presented. I knew what the task was. I know what this year is about. I know the pressure of this year, and I embraced it, and that's why we're here now. So I know what this fight is. If Prenga sat here and they said, if you beat Andy Joshua, you can fight Tyson Fury, he's going to say, bring it. Absolutely. They told me, if you beat Prenga, we'll give you Tyson Fury. I said, please, give me that contract. And it's no problem to me, no pressure. I just know what is required of me, and I stepped up to the plate.
The game's all about opportunity. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Tyson Fury is, I think they're going to announce it this week. Speaking to Frank Warren earlier this morning, he says now he's going to be out again in August.
Is he fighting a Torma?
I'm not sure who he's fighting yet. Frank wouldn't give me any indication.
Because he was saying to me when I was looking for an opponent for this day, he was like, you know, fight. I think he was saying fight Wardley, fight a Torma. These fights are easy to be made.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a comeback fight. So I think that would be a perfect name because they're all under the same promotion, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Fury is what he says he is. Maybe he should step forward and Frank should put his fighter forward instead of worrying about what I'm up to.
I totally get it, mate. I actually threw Andy Ruiz's name in the mix and said, what about Andy? Because I spoke to Andy out in Egypt. He said that he's keen. He said, not Andy Ruiz, but it'll be a top 10 opponent. So it'll be interesting to see.
Probably Jarrell Miller.
Who that is. Yeah, it'll be very interesting, mate.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Anthony Joshua talking to Spencer Oliver. It seems AJ, certainly mentally, is in a very good spot considering the tough time he has come through with his two friends losing his life in that Nigeria car crash.
Well, as he says, this is probably the best place for him. And there was always a school of thought which says, is he going to be able to recover from the horror of what he saw? And would boxing be the best mechanism to help him with that? I think most people would think that the distraction of boxing to take him away from, as I say, the horror of the circumstances he found himself in, the loss of the lives of two of his very close friends, probably would be the boxing ring. So you put him in, with a low-risk opponent. Now, I know the guy's got a record of knocking 21 or 20 of the 21 fighters out that he's fought, but none of them have any of the calibre of Anthony Joshua, so this should be a formality for Anthony Joshua. He's been Machiavellian about Tyson Fury and who Tyson Fury should fight. The original agreement, I understand, was that they were going to fight at the end of September. Anthony taking a fight in July means that in order for them to fight again, probably means in November, middle of November. So that means that Tyson Fury has to be out of the ring for 7-8 months in preparation for the battle of egos, the legacy fight. No, there's no fight about this. This is the race to the bank, right? This is about two fighters that are both past their best, that are not fighting for world titles anymore, are fighting for huge financial returns.
It's still be a good fight, though.
Well, one hopes so, yeah. But the idea that Anthony then alludes to the fact, in a Machiavellian way, that Tyson Fury should be fighting Moses Atoma or Fabio Wardley when he's fighting an Albanian doorman is probably slightly mischievous on his part.
Whose return to the ring excites you more, Joshua's or Fury's?
Neither, really. I understand the value of this fight, and I'm not going to be a miserable sod and say that I wouldn't watch it or go to it, because whilst I have no interest in engaging or actually talking about Tyson Fury, I recognise the game that we're in, right? And the fact that they're fighting this fight, in most people's minds, will captivate a great audience. They won't be doing it for small amounts of money, so the economics for them are the driving factor.
Yeah.
So it will... I'm more interested in watching Fabio Wardley see if he can re-emerge again and come out from the circumstances with Daniel Dubois. I'm more interested in watching Daniel Dubois fight maybe Ajit Kabiel. I'm more interested in watching Ajit Kabiel fighting Alexander Usyk. I'm more interested in watching Moses Atoma fight Philip Hrgovic, because I think they are with real jeopardy and intentions. This is about us watching, with respect, and I don't have any begrudging of top athletes making lots of money, watching two guys make a ton of money on the back of what they once were before. And fair play to them. If the market pays that, and that's what the Saudis want to pay, and the audience figures are going to be enormous, and the intrigue will be there for the punters. But you're asking me.
Was Amir Khan Kell Brook not the same?
Yeah, of course it was.
And we both
of course it was
nicked off to that.
Of course it was. But we have, in this, I've always maintained, and I've got no disrespect for Anthony Joshua intended. I think he is the victim of the classic British media trick of building people up to levels that they're not. We've done it with Marcus Rashford as a footballer. He's a world-class... No, he's not. He's a good footballer. So when he falls below the standards that we've artificially imposed upon him, he gets judged by it. Anthony Joshua is a good boxer that caught a wave, and people are attributing, and maybe justifiably so.
Come on, you must have talked up AJ down the years.
Never. But that's why I used to have arguments with his very close friend, Michael Jarman. And that's why, Spencer's always defending Anthony Joshua, because I've called him a flat-track bully. And I was the one that said, you lot think he's back when he fights Jermaine Franklin, when he fought Robert Helenius, when he fought Otto Wallin, when he fought Francis Ngannou. First live one he gets, going to get knocked out. And he did, by Daniel Dubois. So with that in mind, I look at his record and think he's a two-time heavyweight champion of the world. I look at his roster, I look at previous world champions and think, well, their rosters are much more impressive. I don't think beating Eric Molina and Dominic Brazil and Charles Martin and some of the opponents, and Povetkin and a few of those opponents that were past their sell-by date when he fought them, including Klitschko, makes him have this status that he's got.
But are you honestly telling me you're more excited about Wardley Dubois 2 than you are about Fury 8?
Because I think that was a better fight. I think it will be a better fight. I think Wardley and Dubois are in their prime, whatever their prime might look. Now, from a media spectacle, from the optics of so people are raving about Eubank versus Ben. I thought I've seen better fights outside Witherspoon's, but because of the spectacle that went with it and all the backstory, and the backstory of this is Fury and the fact that he and Anthony Joshua have had this rivalry for years, but they're fighting for money, which they all do. Of course, that sounds very naive. They all fight for money, but the real motivating behind this is the fact that if you said to Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, we're going to pay you £5 million to settle who's the best fighter in your generation, they'd say, shove it up your backside. I'm not doing it for that. So the economics behind this are driving.
It's the same motivation for every fight.
Not necessarily. Of course, you've got to have the economics of a fight, but you won't see, Moses Atoma dictating the price point of whether he'll fight the best heavyweight in the world right now. He'll fight them because he wants to win a world title. He'll fight them because he wants to be the best in his profession.
Here's one for you. You always talk about live ones.
Yeah.
It's now officially ordered that Usyk's to defend his heavyweight title against a mandatory challenger, interim champion Ajit Kabayel, who I know you rate highly.
I do.
And Ajit joined us the other day, and he said, I'm not sure that Usyk fancies fighting me.
Yes, I wait so long for the opportunity, you know. I'm the next for Usyk for the WBC title. But now, when I come back to Germany, I think Usyk is scared from me. He will not fight with Caballero. I think he will make the fight. He will make the rematch fight with Rico. You know, he say, you ever know, understand. He can beat Rico better, and now he can watch the fight, for him, and he can make the analyst. But I think when he fight with Caballero, this is a different fight. You know it. And now I think he's scared for Caballero.
You're saying he's scared of you? You think he's running from Usyk?
Yes, 100%.
I'm not sure that's true.
Of course, it's not true.
But at the end of the day, that would be a hell of a fight.
Well, one would hope so. I mean, listen, first and foremost, he's earned the opportunity to get his shot, which is why I was so aggrieved on his part that Rico got the opportunity before he did. But his performances against Makhmudov, against Frank Sanchez, and against Zhili Zhang were massively impressive, but they weren't without jeopardy. I mean, he cut down Makhmudov before Makhmudov became less of a fighter in people's minds. He blasted out Frank Sanchez, who most people think puts a glass eye to sleep at times, and he made hard work of Zhili Zhang in his most recent performance and did the job. And when Zhang was being considered to be a very difficult fighter to overcome. In his most recent fight in Germany, he made more of it than he needed to and got caught himself. There's no way Usyk is frightened of him. And there's no way that Usyk on his game wouldn't beat him. But Usyk is maybe at the stage now where we've just got the tipping point.
Yeah.
Now, that might be the evidence that we saw in the Rico Verhoeven fight. It might be the lack of preparation. It might be the lack of jeopardy. If he fights Ajit Caballero, I would be tipping Usyk to win that fight.
Okay. Interesting.
Which is of no use to him.
And interestingly, alongside you and Paul Smith, you've got Fury.
Yes, that rare beast.
But it's not Tyson.
A member of the Fury clan that doesn't mind having a bit of criticism and then still coming on to talk to a broadcaster.
Okay, we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. I saw Gabby Bonlahor and Jason Cundy in PSG shirts.
Yeah.
Does that really get to you so much?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I'll be honest with you. I love talkSPORT and I've been on a million times.
Yeah.
It's put me off listening to talkSPORT. I can only listen to this programme now because you're the only ones, whether I agree with Simon or not sometimes, he talks sense and it's pragmatic, real analysis. But all the other programs now, especially the Sports Bar and especially your morning program, it's built around trying to anger other people into phoning in, trying to wind us up, and it's become. We don't care who likes us or who doesn't, because I'll tell you what, you don't hate the way we play, you hate the way we win.
Yeah, but it sounds like you've taken the bait, Rich.
Well, I have taken the bait. Insofar as talkSPORT, you are the perpetrators between, like I said, Beavis and Butthead that now have turned the Sports Bar into some sort of comedy relief. It's no longer about real pragmatic analysis about the game and about the team.
No, that's what you get. That's what you get here, as you said moments ago.
Yeah, but the Sports Bar used to be really good. Drive. Even though Adrian Durham has always hated Arsenal, right? But even goes that, we had the Daily Arsenal all those years ago with Adrian Durham.
Listen, let's finish on a positive note. Can you win honours consistently with pragmatism at your heart? Do you need an evolutionary change at Arsenal to go on the way you play?
The process is what Arteta is all about.
It is Tuesday lunchtime, 20 past 12. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT. Simon, news is coming in. Sir Kenny Dalglish has confirmed that he's undergoing treatment for a cancer diagnosis. The Liverpool icon shared the news via social media today, and he posted this message, and it appears, as can happen to people of Kenny's age, my age, and others like us, not being expert when it comes to social media, he accidentally posted a letter from hospital that ended up on his social media. Right. So Kenny says, as my inadvertent social media post has indicated, I'm currently undergoing treatment for cancer. Unlike my mobile phone use, the treatment's going well. Ideally, this would have remained private because that's the way it should be, but my useless technology skills have forced my hand. Obviously, I didn't mean to make this matter public, so I'd appreciate the privacy of my family and myself are respected. As ever, thank you to the wonderful medical staff who have shown incredible care and discretion, not just for me, but for many, many others. They are a credit to themselves. The support, best wishes and love of everyone at Liverpool are and will continue to be with Sir Kenny and his family. That's one thing, and of course, only yesterday, Simon, we learned that Kevin Keegan, the
man he replaced at Liverpool,
yes, Kevin Keegan has revealed that he had stage 4 cancer diagnosed in January, and says he's responding well to treatment.
Yeah.
So, I mean, dare I say it, my friend, you've been in that predicament,
Sure.
and I remember in this very studio you were telling us about it.
I mean, both of these are iconic sportsmen. Both of them first-class individuals. Both of them have had a massive impact in society, not just as footballers, but as personalities. Both of them I've met and have a great deal of respect for. Kenny, I think, is a wonderful man. I liked his son, Paul, very much.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that you can take away from this is that both men are getting the care that they need to have, and hopefully the outcomes are the most positive.
Absolutely. Keegan opened up in it on the seriousness of his diagnosis at 2 events over the weekend, but he was at pains to point out, I'm nearly through it. It's looking good.
Well, that's great.
I mean, I remember your attitude was, my God, no matter what lies ahead, I'm taking this on and I'm coming out the other end.
Well, I didn't get much choice because when I went and got had the biopsy and then sat down with the surgeon, sat down with my doctor that told me there was nothing to be concerned about, who then told me I had something significantly to be concerned about. Michelle took control of the proceedings and asked him, is he going to die? And then when he said not if he has the surgery that he needs to have, then Michelle was just shut up, stop whining and get on with it. So they didn't get much choice, really.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing to have.
Yes.
To have a strong person alongside you. And these men have strong women in their lives, absolutely have strong women in their lives. Both of these men have. And both of these men are very strong characters in their own right. And whilst they won't want it in the public domain, there is a flip side to very recognisable people talking about cancer and talking about the challenges of cancer and the journey that goes on. It brings an awareness to it, and more people get tested. And that's the one thing that the government are doing relatively well, is now driving new initiatives via the NHS for screening of all kinds of cancers. Obviously, it's a fact of life. The older we get, the more likely we are. Most people they say that most men die with prostate cancer rather than of prostate cancer. So most men have prostate cancer, and I don't know what these two boys have. One of them, obviously, Kevin's got stomach cancer, but all of these situations are better solved by being aware of it earlier.
Yeah.
And whilst that's not necessarily the benefit these men want to affect upon the world by telling people their conditions, it is a welcome side.
It's a nudge in the right direction for the rest of it.
Hopefully they'll both be on the right end.
We wish both gentlemen well. Kevin Keegan, of course, revealing he had stage 4 cancer diagnosed in January. He's responding well to the treatment. And Sir Kenny, this lunchtime, confirming that he is undergoing treatment for a cancer diagnosis. We wish Sir Kenny Dalglish all very best wishes from everybody here at talkSPORT and in this very building here at the News Building at London Bridge. We're coming up to 12:30 this Tuesday lunchtime. When you guys won it in '98, the double, did you evolve after that?
We knew
or
that
did you stay the same?
We wanted to play offensive football, you know, because for me, I totally agree with you, Simon. I will probably add something, you know, that for me is very important. You cannot play next season the same way because I think the pressure will be high, you know, in the medias, but as well from the fans, even from the Arsenal fans. Everybody is very happy and very proud of winning the Premier League this season. But we are a little bit frustrated in terms of the way they play. So for me, the most important, except the fans and the press, is the players. Do you think the players are very happy to play the way they did? Even thinking that they were leading the score against Paris Saint-Germain, even thinking that Paris Saint-Germain is the best team in the world, that there is no shame to defend against this team because they are such good players, you know. But do you think that Arsenal, the players, will be happy to do exactly the same thing next season? You have to enjoy what you're doing on the pitch. This is the best way of winning things.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, something's going to break, you know, into the team.
Would you have enjoyed playing like Arsenal play?
This way?
Yeah.
If I won the Champions League, of course. But they didn't. They won the Premier League, so they have something in their mind thinking, we did what we had to do to win the Premier League. But are you happy the way you they will say, yeah, very proud of defending, but in the meantime, Arsenal is not this. Arsenal is something different.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure why, you know, the criticisms you were talking about.
talkSPORT's EFL expert Adrian Clark is staggered Southampton's head coach Tonda Eckhart is still in a job.
He has brought the club's name into serious disrepute here. The image, the reputation of Southampton Football Club is damaged massively, and they are going to be public enemies number one unless they have a clear out.
Saints owner Dragan Solax told the BBC he won't sack Eckhart and believed him when he said he didn't know the rules. Southampton admitted spying on 3 championship rivals and were kicked out the playoffs. Messages from the investigation show junior members of staff felt pressure to carry out the spying. Man City midfielder Rodri says he'll only talk about his future after the World Cup. He's been linked to Real Madrid. Meanwhile, despite interest from Burnley and Celtic, Craig Bellamy has committed his future to Wales.
Wales give me this opportunity. One or two might not have. I haven't managed before, and I'm really grateful for that. They've given me everything I could have asked for. I don't need anything else.
Bellamy's halfway through a 4-year deal as Wales boss, and after conversations with Frank Warren about potential next opponents, Anthony Joshua's told talkSPORT Tyson Fury should fight Fabio Wardley or Moses Itauma next.
They're all under the same promotion, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Fury is what he says he is. Maybe he should step forward and Frank should put his fighter forward instead of worrying about what I'm up to.
AJ faces Christian Prenga in Saudi Arabia next month before fighting Fury next year.
It is Tuesday lunchtime. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan. We're live in talkSPORT. Way back at the top of the show, Alex Crook very kindly got in touch with us to say that Liverpool edging closer to making Andoni Iraola their new manager. Of course, that after Arne Slot departed from the club over the weekend on the same day as the Champions League final. That news came through. When we get to about 1:45 this Tuesday lunchtime, we're going to be hearing in Holland from Marcel van der Kraan, who is going to tell us what may or may not be next for Arne Slot.
Have we got any view from Liverpool fans about the reaction to that particular appointment? We haven't done that, have we?
About Iraola?
Yeah.
Not just yet. I mean, once it's in tablets of stone, I think we're going to get reaction to it. Yeah. You would say it would be a good fit, would you?
I think he's a great manager.
Yeah.
I think he's done a great job. I think he's done everything that's asked of him and more. You can't ask any more from him to have all his best players sold from underneath him and yet year after year produce a team that keeps on being very compelling on the eye and as a result of being disadvantaged by his best players being sold. But there is night and day between Bournemouth and Liverpool.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we'll see. I would wager he will translate.
Sure.
But there's still that slight element
of
doubt whether he will, because Liverpool's a unique place.
No matter the topic, when you and I disagree, we disagree. When we agree, we agree. And we're agreed that we both love the darts, do we not?
Very much.
I was glued to it. The BetMGM Premier League darts final at the O2 the other night, and it went all the way. And Luke Littler came out on top after he beat Luke Humphreys. It was quite a final. But thereafter, Luke Littler had one or two things to say, and it became apparent that he's been wrestling with some of the abuse he's taken, on-stage arguments, boos from thousands in attendance. Week 9 in Manchester is where the atmosphere in the crowd started to turn against him after a missed match dart by Van Veen, the Dutchman he was playing against. The pair exchanged a frosty handshake, and the Dutchman said Littler was, quote, out of order, what he perceived to be Littler celebrating the fact that he had missed. And Littler also gestured that Van Veen was a bit of a crybaby, so it kind of carried on. Then came Rotterdam, of course, in Holland, and the fans were behind one of their own in Van Veen, and they really turned it on against Luke Littler. He was roundly booed as well because of his support for Manchester United. So one way or t'other, Luke's been getting it in the neck from crowds in and around the Premier League darts circuit. And Luke Littler spoke about that somewhat surprisingly and elaborated on his comments in a post-match conference. This was Luke.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's a turning point. Everything I said on stage tonight, the tears, I'm not asking for sympathy. I just told the world, I told everyone how I was feeling during the Premier League, and yeah, the biggest outcome is next to me. But yeah, I don't know if my mum and dad were shocked because I didn't really speak to them about it as much as I did to Faith. And yeah, so they might speak to me tomorrow or the day after and just talk about it, because maybe I should have spoke to them. But you know, us men, we don't want to really talk. But yeah, I had to speak to Faith and tell her how I was feeling.
Faith being his girlfriend.
Right.
That was in a media conference, Simon, where it was all a bit more sedate and well behaved. But on stage, after he'd beaten Humphreys, the broadcaster had to cut the interview short because of what was going on in the background, because Luke Littler was emotional. He went so far and didn't want to go much further, but he said he almost quit because of the abuse that he's been taking. I think darts fans have got to remember, this boy's just 19 years of age.
He's being paid like a man. So you can't ask people not to treat you in a way. This is the modern day society. I don't know why they're doing it. Maybe because he's always in front of them in a fast food concession. I don't know. Or because
you always do that. You always jump on him because of his appearance and he's overweight.
But I think he should, as a young man, I think he should look after himself better. And I think he should want to look after himself better. And I want to be an example. I don't want to make him into a role model.
But that's not helpful, Simon.
Well, I'm not trying to be helpful. I'm trying to be flippant. But in this instance, I look at him and think he's the number one dart player in the world. I remember the days when Eric Bristow was publicly vilified by fans because he used to walk on stage and court the atmosphere of the crafty Cockney and go against the audience and really go against the Jockey Wilsons of the world. And if you want to play in a man's game and you want to be paid like a man, then you accept the consequences of all the rewards and recognition. He is a strong character in his own right. I watched him the other day at the Wardley-Dubois fight. He has got tickets on himself. He's not a shy, retiring little wallflower. He is confident and full of himself, you know.
What was he doing? Give me an example.
First of all, I don't blame him, because if you're 19 years of age and you're the best darts player in the world and you're getting a lot of recognition, a lot of money, most people you'd let it go to your head a little bit, because that's what we do when we're younger. But I could just see him walking around a little bit full of himself, and that's fine because we probably all do it. Now, people in this country are often beset by envy. It's a culture that wants to whittle people down a lot of the time, and so he's put himself in the way of that. And whilst we should say in our idealistic be kind world, where people that always put be kind in their bios are normally the most unkind people, would suggest that, well, you've got to watch out for people's mental health and their well-being. He's the number one dart player in the world. It goes with expectation and pressure, and it'll go with people not liking you because you're the best. And there's only one thing, and hopefully the people that are around him will tell him, there's only one thing worse than people talking about you. It's people not talking about you.
I know, but he doesn't really need people like you saying maybe you should cut back the chocolate biscuits.
Well, I think he should. I think someone should be saying it to him.
But that's unreasonable.
I think it's unhealthy. I think a young man of his age should want to be physically fit and should want to be looking after his health. We have a crisis of obesity in this country. We talk about it regularly, and yet we have one of our leading sportsmen, despite what people... I think darts is a sport. A lot of people don't. I think it's a sport. And I admire the darts players for their fortitude. But if we're going to get a young man in that space, I'd like him to be the best physical version of himself. And people can turn around and say what they like about it. You can get the guys that look after him, the matchroom guys that are making money for him, and say, oh, typical Simon to say that, because they haven't got the balls to say it themselves. There's nothing wrong with what I'm saying. You know, when you've got...
They're just letting him be, though.
And that's
How
fine.
about letting Luke Littler be Luke
and when he
Littler?
gets, you know, type 2 diabetes or whatever else he gets, and he's a burden on the National Health Service, we can all say something else. But right now, what he's complaining about, or saying he's suffering from, is a section of the fans having a go. Now, I don't know why they're doing it, and it might just simply be because he's the best player in the world, and it might simply be that it goes with the territory, and it might also be because he is a little bit cocky. And it might be that. And if he wants to exude that personality, which I don't know if he does or doesn't, you go with the territory. He is young. I accept that. And I accept that it comes with a degree of experience that can say, let it go over your head.
But it's quite sad, though, when he says the reception he got in Rotterdam, because he was playing the Dutchman Van Veen, was the worst I have experienced. But his mindset going forward was, I'll just expect the worst. I mean, that is quite sad for a 19-year-old.
Well, what does he want? Okay, what does he want then? Unadulterated love?
How about the crowd behaving themselves?
But that's not... You can't control the crowd. You can't control the way that people react to you.
I mean, we all hear the darts is fun, and they all get into all their fancy dressing of it. It's fun, it's a laugh, it's wonderful being there. How about also reining it in
for the
a bit?
purpose of this conversation, we could say that across a variety of sports, couldn't we? For the purpose of this conversation, is there any reason, in your mind's eye, whilst you're advancing the case of great sympathy for him, is there any reason why the crowd have gone against him?
Well, because of his altercation that he's had with Van Veen.
Okay.
And he's in Van Veen's territory in Rotterdam.
So he's a big boy that can take the mickey out of these opponents by giving it they're crybabies.
It might well be about his appearance as well.
Well,
and you're having a laugh.
Right, so I'm the poster boy for that then, am I? But the fact of the matter is I'm just telling the truth. I would like to see a young man in his pomp being fit and healthy. And if that's a crime, then I'm guilty of a crime. If people want to turn around and say, that's awful fat shaming, I think people should look after themselves. I should look after myself better. I think people should be encouraged to look after themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't make money from Luke Littler, and I'm not interested in gaining a popularity contest with him. He's a brilliant darts player. When you advance him as a poster boy, which they try to do for young darts players, wouldn't it be nice to see them all looking healthy and vital? And having a generation of young people that look healthy and vital, so they become healthy and vital adults.
I'm surprised that you're going down that line, though, because to me that would be in an ideal world, and you would always rail against something like that.
No, it's not an ideal world, it's a choice. This is a choice. Some people, this idea that we can't live in a healthy society, that it costs more money to prepare food than it does to buy ready-made meals, is nonsense. That's just for lazy people that have excuses. And I've had these conversations with little flakes like Max Rushton when they talk about, you know, if you walk behind someone that's thin walking down the road that's emaciated, you say it's child abuse. If you walk behind a kid that's really fat with fat parents and you call them fat, it's called child abuse. It's not called child abuse, it's called, you know, unfortunate circumstances. I have different views on it, but as far as the abuse that he's experiencing, we don't know whether it's because of the aesthetics, but the fact is he's the number one darts player in the world, and it might come with the territory. James Wade has talked. I've had conversations with James Wade when I did up front with him about the challenges that he has on the circuit and how he reacts to the pressures of being a darts player. Individual sports, with all fairness, to put aside the knockabout idea that some of the observations I made are either trying to be humorous or off the mark and disrespectful.
We'll maybe put them aside.
Off the side of being disrespectful as well. It's a very difficult thing to play individual sports because you really are. And I watch these guys.
You're on your own.
You're on your own. Golfers, tennis players, you know, even cricketers that are facing a bowler. It's a one-on-one competition, and it's a very difficult thing to do. So you have to give them a lot of respect and to the manner in which they operate. But this is the world they chose to operate in. Don't be a darts player then. Don't be a darts player. Go be a food taster.
Steady. I mean, maybe we'll get to a time that darts needs Littler more than Littler needs darts.
Well,
maybe we're already there.
Why would you say that? I mean, I know that they're making a case for the fact that he's provided a huge uptick in young darts players. I would suggest, actually,
he doesn't do it to be slaughtered on stage.
He does it for the financial returns and benefits and the opportunities that life presents him as a result of being a good darts player. I would suggest that the gentrification of darts via the broadcasting excellence that your previous employers had put onto the stage, which is Sky, have elevated the importance of darts, have elevated its focus, have elevated its recognition and rewards, and that in part, alongside the arrival of a prodigious talent, prodigious talent like Luke Littler.
I'm correcting you.
Because you're right to do so. With all that in mind, I think you should get on with it. And here's the life lesson. Do you think that by telling boo boys that they affect you, that's going to win you anything? That's going to stop them from doing it? Because actually the worst thing you can do is let people know that it affects you. Because the more you let people know that it affects you, then the more they're likely to do it. And people would, people will suggest, oh, that's not right. We've got to care about someone's mental health. Resilience. Overcome it, son. You're the best darts player in the world.
Okay, thank you for that. It's 1:45.
Perry Groves joins us now. Perry.
Good evening, Perry.
Evening, and commiserations.
Good evening. Don't want your commiserations.
I've seen you in the...
Stick your commiserations where the sun don't shine.
No, listen.
I don't want your hollow whatever.
No.
Stick it.
No. It's commiserations.
No, it's not.
No, I think there is commiserations. I think it's fair.
No, because you're pleased.
No, I am delighted.
Do you know what? It's a weird thing, right? I don't get people taking great pleasure from other people's misfortunes.
What do you mean?
Right? When I was brought up, right, to want to be successful myself, right, and reach my goals, but if someone else is successful, be pleased from. The only caveat that is that mob up the road with Spurs, because if they'd have won it in 2019, I'd have emigrated, I'd have gone to Sydney with my boy. Right. But other than that, you'd rather a French team beat an English team.
100%.
Yeah. Don't get it.
100%.
Do you know what? It just shows you how shallow you both are.
No, not shallow, being honest.
You are. Yeah.
Just being honest.
Because I want Chelsea in it against a foreign team because I want an English team to do well.
Why? Well, I don't get that argument. I don't get it. I never will get it. The hate has got to go deep in the heart.
No, that's why. That's the thing. I don't hate. That's the difference.
I do.
Apart from that, how energy sapping is that? How much are in people's heads?
No,
everyone's different. No, Perry. I get what you're saying, but there's people that are like me and Cundy that don't want another English team to do well. Yeah, but again, different opinions, isn't it? Yeah, but
I didn't want Villa to win the Europa League because that put them in the Champions League. I didn't want that. I know they got them in the league anyway.
Shallow.
No, but it's nothing against Gab. I just don't want Arsenal. Also, the only side in London to win the Champions League is Chelsea, and that's
that's no thing. By the way, I heard you say that you're not a big club if you haven't won the Champions League or.
No, you can't sit at the top table.
Right. So you're saying Nottingham Forest are a big.
boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
Well, a massive run of DAZN Saturday fight nights are coming your way. It kicks off this weekend in Sheffield. Josh Padley defends his European gold against Akib Fiaz in Sheffield. Then on June the 13th, live from Manchester, you can watch Beauty versus the Beast. Eddie Hall, he's the Beast, faces Tommy Fury, he's the Beauty, in a heavyweight showdown featuring a remarkable 100-pound weight difference. And that comes after pound-for-pound star Jesse Bam Rodriguez returns to Arizona on the same day, aiming to make history by becoming a three-weight world champion. Join DAZN Ultimate, watch Padley and 12-plus pay-per-views a year, including Fury Hall next weekend at no extra cost. Looking forward to that.
Bam Rodriguez, yeah, hell of a fighter. He's the one that beat Sonny Edwards, wasn't he?
Yes. The dust is beginning to settle somewhat on the events at Liverpool over the weekend. The departure of Arne Slot, and now, as we have been reporting here at talkSPORT, it seems that talks are at an advanced stage to make Andoni Iraola, more lately of Bournemouth, the new man in charge at Anfield. But various questions remain unanswered regards Arne Slot, because number one, we've still to hear from him in terms of a broadcast interview, and number two, what is next for Arne Slot? This gentleman was with us throughout the Euros in Germany and is periodically with us on this very show. Dutch football expert Marcel van der Kraan joins us live this lunchtime. Marcel, good afternoon to you. What was your reaction when you heard that Liverpool had shown Slot the door?
Well, astonished, actually, because it was always on the card for a long time. But then in the last few weeks, we got this firm belief from Arne himself that he had the backing of the club. He was taken in the plans for next season. He was talking with Richard Hughes, with the director. He gave me, now and again, we liaise, and he gave me the impression very much that he was absolutely going to be the manager of Liverpool in the new season. And that Saturday, I think, was an absolute thunder in a clear blue sky for Arne. And I spoke to him briefly on the Sunday as well, Sunday morning. And I think he was still recovering from the absolute blow that this was.
Can I pry into that, Marcel? You've done what I fully expected someone of your status to do. You've spoken with the man the day after. How would you describe his mood?
I think he wasn't bitter. He was more still venturing that surprise, realizing he didn't win a trophy. And in football, you get judged on trophies, strikers get judged on goals. But he thought that in that first season, he had shown a lot to the fans of Liverpool, to the board, to the players. And in the second season, despite injuries, despite everything, still got them in the Champions League. And he was really looking forward to improvement and having more fresh players. Of course, no Ekitike yet, but Isak, maybe in a better shape, maybe a few adjustments to the team. And I think he was absolutely convinced that it was going to be a much better season.
Marcel, we would have been out in Germany together at the time when he was coming in to Liverpool. And you would have had a view at that time, knowing him as you probably do, of what he was likely to achieve at Liverpool. When you look at the time that he's been there and the achievements that he's had, are you surprised at what's transpired? Not just the losing of his job, but the performance in the second season. Do you look at it and say, well, he inherited Klopp's team, so he got lucky first time round? What's your overall picture of the 2-year circumstance in which he founded him against the expectation you may have had, knowing he was going into Liverpool in the summer of 24 when we were in Germany together?
Well, I have mixed feelings too, because when I worked with him the 3 years before, I could see that he was improving the team every year. He sometimes did have a difficult start and then got his ideas and his philosophy, I always hate that word in football, but his real football ideas into the player's head. His training sessions were impeccable. I watched many of them. his training sessions are always brilliant. And in that way, it was what happened at Liverpool. It was the other way around. Was that because he inherited the team of Klopp? I'm not sure about that, because he did bring a different style of football and it was successful. And that second season, I expected it, especially with the investments. Although he and I do not quite agree. I said, look, you invested 400 million. And he says, well, I also sold, or we sold as a club, we sold under 50 million.
But what about the argument, Marcel, when we look at the players? I was talking to Emmanuel Petit yesterday. There's a very difficult argument to make that any of the players besides Szoboszlai has improved. Everyone seems to, he's had a fallout with Salah. McAllister's gone backwards. Virgil van Dijk's gone backwards. Kerkez has been a disaster as a signing in terms of the quality that he's put on the field. So there's a lot of arguments about that he hasn't improved Liverpool. He's actually, not one single player has advanced. I would say perhaps there's a couple of arguments that it can be on his favour, but on the bulk of it, he doesn't seem to have improved anybody.
Oh, I think you've got a good point there, Simon. And this is where it's still puzzling me as well a little bit, because it was the opposite in all the years when he worked in the Netherlands. And the Premier League maybe does have bigger demands to foreign managers than we all think. And it makes impact, the expectations are higher. Maybe the football, which he loved and he wanted to do, is maybe more suitable for continental styles, for the Dutch, Germany, Italy, Spain, I don't know. And the Premier League high tempo really does demand something special. And at the same time, we see that very few Dutch guys make it as a manager in the Premier League. And Spanish coaches are doing absolutely brilliant. Everybody wants a Spanish coach. I mean, this morning, Ajax announced that the new manager for the new season is Michel, coming from Spain. And the Spanish coach, of course, under Jordi Cruyff, the son of Johan Cruyff, who has always worked in Spain, knows him well. But everybody is crazy on these Spanish coaches. So I think this is also a bit of an alarm for the next coaches who go to England. Well, I don't think they're going to get a chance in the top 6 at the moment for a while.
What do you see as being next for Arne Slot? I mean, do you think he's got an appetite to go straight back into the game if he's given the right opportunity, Marcel? What do you see happening?
Well, there could be big things happening after the summer. It's a very simple one. If Ronald Koeman steps down after the World Cup, and he's been in the job for quite a while, and he still has to decide, he's pondering, will I carry on or do I not carry on? There is a vacancy at the Dutch national team. And I think Arne Slot is very, very much up for that. He's probably the ideal candidate. He can play his Dutch style of football, the passing, attacking style, whatever you call it. And I think the Dutch would be happy to have him, because the other candidate, Peter Bos, who made PSV Eindhoven champions, he's just renewed his contract, so he's gone. And in the Netherlands at the moment, we don't have that many brilliant coaches, and especially with the experience, it is also an experience for him to have been there for 2 years at Liverpool. I think he will come in with a good status, because I think a lot of Dutch people are still very proud of him. He's got a lot of fans here, maybe not at Merseyside at the moment anymore, but he does here, because people were absolutely shocked in a positive way when he did win that Premier League in his first season. Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody saw really what came on Saturday morning as well, when it was goodbye to Arne Slot. Marcel van der Kraan, thank you so much. Marcel, no doubt, will be reporting on the Dutch exploits over in the US of A. Be interesting to see where Slot does end up next, Simon.
Indeed, interesting at this stage in his career that the national team would be a go-to thought process, because what's he, in his mid-40s?
Yes, yeah. I know where you're ending up next. You're talking boxing.
I am.
With Peter Fury and Paul Smith. We'll be back tomorrow at 10, live in talkSPORT with Selco where the trade goes. It's 1 o'clock this Tuesday lunchtime.